Hey, what is going on, everyone? It's me, Mr. Mario, and welcome back to another episode of Mario's Minute. For those who don't know, this is the second podcast I do. My main podcast that I end up doing is Mod Chat, where it's not really a news show, but it's a bit more structured, and it kind of covers just new topics and things that I find interesting in the world of video game modding, console modding, and all that fun stuff. However, this is not that. This here is Mario's Minute, where essentially I come on here and I talk about whatever the hell I want to. Sometimes I have a guest on, sometimes I don't, but it is available in two different form factors. First of all, you can find it on the Mr. Mario 2011 YouTube channel in a video form, where there's not too much going on there. It's really just a photo of myself, or I guess a cartoon photo of myself, you could say, my channel art, there we go, with a cool looking visualizer on there. At least I think it's cool looking, but there's not all too much going on visually. Or you can, of course, take it around and listen to it audio only like an actual podcast. Simply look up Mario's Minute, and you should hopefully be able to find it on your favorite podcasting app, host, or provider. Now, getting into this episode here, as I said earlier, that sometimes I have a guest on, sometimes I don't. I try my best to alternate it between months. So last month was a solo episode to start off the year, and it was a fun one for sure. However, this episode here, I do have a guest on. So, as I always ask, to my guest, who the hell are you?
Hello, I'm f4mi. I make videos on YouTube, I guess. um, so yeah, that's who I am.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much for coming on, Fami. I do
Thank
appreciate
you
the
for
guest spot
inviting me.
here. Oh, of course. Yeah, it's not like we've been talking for like 2 hours prior to
No.
this. So. Yeah, we've tried to get this started here, kind of, sort of, and then it's always been like, oh, let's go on this other tangent and talk about this
Oh
other
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
So yeah, we already have like a podcast full of unrecorded stuff that's already out
Yeah,
there.
it's great. We generated stuff, and we can we can choose now.
That's pretty much what we've done. Yes. Yeah. But I did want to, I guess, kind of start off here with kind of talking about how we know each other in some way, because I will say, at least for me knowing of you, I had found a few of your videos online, of course, and I think the first one I saw from you was your deep dive on the Wii startup disc. Like
Oh
I had
yeah, that one. Yeah.
Yes, I had seen that. I love that one. Of course, I know at the moment right now while we're recording, your most recent one is your homebrew channel one, like the
Yes.
music of the homebrew channel. That was a phenomenal one as well too that I
Yeah,
very
I
much
wasn't
enjoyed.
expecting it like to go that well. Like even I was expecting it to get some views because the arrow one went well. It was getting it, but then out of nowhere it exploded. Like I don't know what to do because I like in a few days I went from like I think it was 7,000 subs to 40,000, and I was like, how did this happen? So yeah, it's just still weird to me.
Congratulations, that is deserved, but that's how it
Thank
happens
you.
as well too. Like sometimes with those like viral type videos are the ones that hit, it just like they need to warm up a little bit, and then when it happens, it's like, why is this happening here? I
Yeah,
wasn't even trying to make this happen.
yes, like I only wanted to make that video because I thought it was a cool concept, like having to because you literally couldn't find this guy. I was like, okay, let's give him credit because everyone knows that music. Okay,
Yeah,
it's being reused even in a few games in a hat in time. I think it's also like in the 3DS homebrew. I think it's like you can set it in the homebrew browser, and
beautiful.
people know the theme, people hum the theme, but they don't know who made it. And I didn't want that to stay that way. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah. It was a good video overall.
Thank
Like
you.
very much enjoyed that. Yeah, of course. So I guess that it helps to put you on the map there, but I think even after that, like at one point I had followed you on Twitter,
Yeah.
and then it was funny. So I haven't told you this until now, but
Okay.
I had followed you on Twitter, and then I remember like shortly after you followed me back, and you hit me up in the DMs, and you were like very polite, but you were just like, "Oh, hey," like you were surprised by me following you, and you had said you're
Yes.
a fan, and I am one of those people. I'm just like, oh, I wasn't expecting to have a conversation here. Like, I thought you made cool content, and I want to see what future things you were up to. So
Yeah.
that's happened a few times. It's always kind of a shock to me when like somebody will just like message me back. I'm
Uh,
just like, oh, I was trying to have a conversation. Like, I'm cool with this, but I just want to see what stuff you were up to.
This recently happened. So there is this. So I listen to loads of SoundCloud music. Okay.
Mhm.
And I follow a lot of SoundCloud musicians, especially in the experimental scene, without going too much into detail. But so one of the people I followed followed me back. And then he wrote to me, "Yo, you're following me? You following me?" And I was like, "Yeah, you make good music. Like, that's why I follow you." And I was happy he was following me back, but I didn't know what to say. He made great stuff, and I was following him. Um, that happened two or three times actually with all the times with musicians, because I just tend to like I spend loads of time on SoundCloud, and yeah, it's it's interesting. I'm very happy that they follow me back. It's cool that like they like my stuff too. But like when you don't know, when you're not expecting a conversation, it can be weird. Like, oh, to come up with something like to say, yeah, I like your stuff, I guess.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I've had that with some musicians as well too that I follow,
Yeah,
and it's cool. It's not like all the musicians, but there's been like a few that have surprised me where like I follow them, they follow me back, and I'm like, oh my god, okay, I've cried to your music. Like this song is like really hit me. So
exactly.
yeah,
Like that.
yeah.
That's what happened with two or three people, and I'm very happy. Like I'm still happy about that, and it's nuts. It happens with YouTubers too, and like other creators, even not in the YouTube side, like journalists, for example.
Hmm.
Uh, I'm very happy, but then sometimes they reach in the end, and I'm like, yeah, I love your work. This is I saw. This is why I follow you. So I got what you mean, especially because right now I think in the current era, it's kind of difficult to see if people are following you for what you do or for who you are, like for the kind of
Right.
yeah. So I can see like so people try to understand that, and you sometimes instinctively try to understand that too. And yeah, it's that's what makes the conversation weird. Is this person following me because they like what I do, or they like what I am slash what I post here, even though social media again are a very watered down selected version of what a person is, because I mean,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Except for, I mean, there's going to be people who overshare and everything, and it's
yeah,
like I don't need to know
it's
what you're doing every minute of the day. Actually, I'm going to unfollow. This is like no
yeah.
offense to you, but this is kind of annoying.
No, it's basically two extremes that I noticed. Like, there's people who share every time they go to the bathroom, basically, and people who only post when their relatives die. So those are the two spheres, and I think the right choice in the middle, like just be aware of what you post online, I guess. And yeah, I when you're a creator, it's even weirder because like everything gets mixed, and yeah, I'm still getting used to that.
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
not used to that at all. Yeah.
It's weird to kind of like come to grips with, and then at one point you're kind of just like, okay, here's the barriers here. We'll kind of figure this out.
Yes.
I don't know if you know of her, but Britta from the Food for Dogs channel, um, she is just like, do you know of her?
No, sorry. I
She
know of the
is
channel because you mentioned it in the past, but I don't know her.
all right. She in short is like the coolest old woman. Just like imagine, and she's not a grandma, funny enough, but like imagine like an old grandmother who is super into the PlayStation Vita,
Oh
visual
wow,
novels,
wow,
Switch, and just game collecting in general. And the
that's
coolest
that's
thing
cool.
is because of her like her background, because she didn't start gaming until like 10, 15 years ago, so she's relatively new to it, but because of her worldly experiences and just the media that she's consumed prior and then coming into it at a later point, when she talks about like video games and contrasts stories and everything, she introduces like new media and just new concepts that like younger people wouldn't think of because they haven't lived through a certain thing or they just aren't aware of, a certain type of,
That's quite
movie that
cool.
maybe
Yeah.
she's comparing it to. Yeah. Um no, she's been super cool overall. I forgot where I was totally going with that, but I guess part of it
No
was also
worries.
just shouting out Food for Dogs on there. Yeah.
I gotta check. Like I've checked them out because you mentioned them, but I never really looked in depth. But I'm gonna do that now. I'm very curious.
Yeah, I
uh,
think there was like one. I even found her because there was like one visual novel. Oh, I'm remembering now. And then I'll get back to this. But it was like she had said something. She was on another podcast called The Create
okay.
Unknown, and she said something about, kind of the social media sphere of everything.
Yes.
I'm going to poorly paraphrase her because it's not exactly what she said, but she said something along the lines of she's learned that deciding what to share and what to keep private, there's very much a fine line
Mm-hmm.
between fine line and a boundary between wanting to be accessible and wanting to have some privacy, and it's never going to be the same. It's constantly shifting, and you have to consistently keep up with that and change it in certain
Absolutely,
directions.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I can make an example here. For example, for example, I was thinking, like think about phone books. Okay, they
Oh yeah.
were a normal thing 40 years ago, and now they are a tool to dox someone. So
Yeah. Did you know they're still around?
yes, I know that
Okay. Yeah, I
because
forgot that they're still around. But
they
yeah,
are
you can ask for a phone book and you'll get it.
yes, yes. Here in Europe, they're being phased away. I noticed, but they're still being distributed around. The thing is, like, most people like this potential for quote unquote doxing has always been there. It's the plot of the fucking first Terminator. Okay, like he finds every Sarah Connor using a phone book. Okay, it's not something
Right.
new.
I don't. So I'll be honest. I forgot about that because I don't like the first Terminator that much.
Yeah,
Terminator Two
it's
is the
not good.
best one, but
Terminator 2 is
I
yeah,
told.
it's definitely the best one.
Yeah.
But
Real quick. I've always had this thought. Terminator 3 just kind of plays like a live action Family Guy to me.
yes, Terminator
Uh,
3, like so I rewatched it recently, and it basically it seemed like a parody of what Terminator 2
yeah.
was. And
It's
if you look at it
it,
that way, even the ending is super underwhelming. It's like
yep.
um no, but like yeah, the privacy thing she was saying, they are constantly shifting right now with AI. Stuff is becoming quite scary. You gotta be aware of privacy, and I suggest people just check everything all the time. But the thing is that um even though for people who are privacy aware is normal, for the average guy, they're just trying to watch videos on TikTok. So they don't care about
Exactly.
this.
Yeah.
uh
Yeah, and it's
yeah,
like it's okay. All my data can be mined. It's fine. Just show me more funny videos.
yeah, like they just it sucks
I'm saying that
because
for like the average TikTok user, but yeah, that's kind of what I picked up there.
yeah, like I don't have anything about against their, like, it's just that people don't notice, and it's totally understandable. I notice and you notice because we grew up in an era where oversharing wasn't normal.
Yeah,
When I was a kid, talking about even just making stuff, if you made any kind of stuff online, you were seen as a weirdo sometimes, because people say, oh, you're putting videos of yourself on the internet. Like
well, also, like, you gotta do you remember, I like go back like 18 years ago, right? So 2005. Do you remember how difficult it was to like take a photo of your desk and post it online?
yes,
Like
back then
that stuff,
I
like you really
was
had to go through the effort.
yeah, like I was more like a little more than a fetus, but I remember that like you had to, in 2007 2008, the best camera I had was 0.3 megapixels, and it
Yeah,
needed like a flash
like
outdoors.
compact flash,
I had,
or oh no, like literal flash.
yeah,
Okay.
a little flat, like you needed, because it sucked. And like digital pictures, yeah, they were a thing, and if you had the money you could buy decent cameras, no doubt.
Hmm.
But the average person just had a shitty pocket camera and a Nokia phone with Symbian if they were lucky, or a Blackberry. I had a Nokia phone. I had a Symbian phone. I used emulators on there.
Nice.
So shout out to Symbian, I guess. No, what I was saying is publishing photos, even just having data everywhere, is something.
Yeah.
Is a concept that like it took a while for me to accept that as a person. While kids right now are born in a world where that's normal, and this is constantly shifting people to essentially see being constantly publicly posting stuff about themselves as the norm. And it's not bad. Just be aware that people are like, just be aware of privacy, for God's sake. People and companies are trying to exploit you. Just don't let them do that.
We are the product.
Yeah. Yeah, this podcast is slowly gonna turn into like we're gonna have a fight club made up.
Oh God, no, that's not what we're trying to do here.
No, I'm kidding. If any YouTube bots, AI bots are scanning this is a joke. Haha.
Yes,
Okay.
this is a joke,
No,
please.
no, yeah, in all seriousness, I've seen like the YouTube bots are going nuts recently. Like I've seen them demonetize videos from YouTubers of from like 5 years ago because YouTube changed the policies recently. You might have seen that. And
They're always doing that, yeah.
yes, but in the most recent change, they changed the profanity policy again. So they demonetize like an entire channel worth to some people, which basically lost their revenue overnight. So that's scary. That's
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it can happen, and I think I don't remember where I had heard this, but it was, like, something I was consuming where they were just saying, like, how different this is because, for example, I mean, we see it in real life with laws where, I'm even thinking, like, ivory tusks, for example, like, owning them for a while was fine, and then at one
Yes.
point, it was
Yes.
made illegal. So if you buy one now, like in the US, for example, it is illegal. However, if you ended up owning one before this law was put into effect, it's grandfathered in as long as you can, prove all the stuff there that you'd had beforehand. YouTube doesn't operate like that. So it's like you could have done something that was perfectly acceptable, no issue 6 years ago. And then if it changes now, you're punished for something that was
Yes.
perfectly
Yes. Yes.
fine
Yes. Yes.
for since the inception of the platform. And you're
So
punished like in current day for that.
you might like you're definitely aware of the items video that got removed for the reason, like the content cop about Leafy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yes, that's the most blatant example. They changed the policy overnight, and the video got taken down, and he got a strike, which is kind of crazy because like that video was okay up until yesterday. You could okay, removing it is fine, but giving him a strike is just come on.
YouTube will be selective with certain things like that, and also
Yeah.
I've talked with several like YouTube friends and stuff such about this, but and then you can even get more conspiratorial as well
Oh
too.
yeah, yeah.
But
There
uh,
was like I remember a video by Goku Naru where there was loads of
yeah,
like discussion about that. Yeah.
yes, but in short, with that, YouTube hated Leafy. They hated how fast he was growing.
Yes. Oh
They did,
wait, wait, wait.
and I understand. And here's the thing, I understand
I want to
because
say one thing. I not it,
sure.
have you seen the great video by Amp Lemon about that?
Yes, yeah, it's been
Okay,
a while, but
okay,
I've seen it.
okay.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. No, because yeah, it's a wonderful video about that. But yeah, what were you saying? Sorry, I didn't want to.
Yeah, no, don't worry about it. Yeah, like what happened is they were obviously just kind of merely tolerating Leafy for a while, but they didn't want to have that type of culture and, kind of promote that and how everything was and like the content that he was making. So that's kind of around the time when he had stopped making videos for a while. It was because like you could. For anybody who like operates a channel and has done it for a while, you could have looked at his channel at its prime and then when it just kind of stopped and it was like a switch flipped. And
Yeah,
I am confident that YouTube was definitely doing things to very much slow his growth, slow his progression. And like, again, I understand it. They didn't want to cultivate that type of content
yeah,
on
like
there,
that.
but they did
I'll
not
be
want him
honest. Like
on there.
that kind of content was just worrying because it led to people bullying kids or disabled people or just doing terrible shit.
Oh, yeah.
But it's so like I think we can say like I can understand why them as a company did it because like you don't like you're not going to get advertisers if your platform becomes known as becomes known as the place where people get bullied. That's like I totally get that they're a private company. They have to make money somehow because I mean they're hosting videos which are probably the huge data like we just take up so much space and they're
Yes.
hosting them for free. Okay, people
Yes.
forget that up until like 2008, it was impossible to find a decent video hosting place. Okay,
Yeah, yeah, and even so with YouTube, if you remember, it even had limitations on there too.
yes,
So,
yes,
like the
yes,
the thing that you would do is you would try to set your account as a director account because therefore, at
yeah.
that point, you could upload videos longer than 15 minutes.
There was that one, and there was also the fact that yeah, most people didn't do that. They had to do parts. So you you see all videos they are like in 100 parts uh,
Hmm.
for this reason, and I didn't even follow. I never followed Leafy personally.
Hmm.
It's never been in my sight. But I've like this entire this entire thing has been weird, and everyone has noticed that. Everyone. Uh, I don't really have an opinion about Leafy now because I don't even know
Sure.
what it does, what he ended up doing. I just heard that he's filthy rich from his videos. Uh,
Uh, yeah, I think pretty much what he does now, he has like a clothing company he occasionally puts stuff up on. He
okay,
drives around
okay,
his
okay.
car everywhere and he will post occasionally and say, "Man, I still miss making videos."
I remember
Yeah.
that he made a channel, I think, last year, because I've seen a post and then he got deleted in like 10 minutes,
Yes.
which is
Y- Yeah,
shady.
he is one of the few like non-political figures that just gets terminated on sight
Yes,
on
yes,
YouTube
yes.
whenever he makes a new
But
account, or
yeah,
even if he does the loophole where it's like, "Oh, it's actually another friend who owns and operates this account and
yeah,
I'm
which
just a
is
contract
yeah,
worker."
it's the thing Keemstar does, which is
Yes, and from what I understand, I don't think that's a thing anymore that you can do. I'm not 100% sure
no,
on that,
I
but
have no idea, like because they're constantly changing the terms. I gotta
yeah.
check again, but yeah, that was the loophole. He was like, "Oh yeah, I'm just a host here. I'm just here to."
Yep.
Uh, no, but like as I was saying, I can understand why you took like that channel was full of very terrible stuff because you're never justified in bullying people for stuff like bullying in general. Okay, just that.
Sure.
So yeah, I get why YouTube does that, but we can't deny that how it went down was weird because it seemed like they were trying to pull this off and then say, "Oh no, it was IDAPS. People stop following Leafy because IDAPS, not because
Mhm.
we stopped making him appear on the feed of people." Um,
Exactly, yeah.
it was mostly that, and I think demonetization, which hit loads of channel, including him, during that period. Because before then, if you remember, I wouldn't say every video got monetized, but it was like a demonetized video was very rare to see.
The reason why I'm hesitating there is because I remember I had weird things for a
Really?
while. Like, yeah, and it wasn't even anything like controversial, but it was like I to this day I still have a video. It's private, but it was a video recorded on my old laptop, just a webcam video. Like I hit record, I started talking about kind of like it was like a life blog, nothing controversial, just kind of sharing what's going on, what I'm going to be
Okay.
doing on the channel. Close it down, then upload the video. That video, it was uploaded in like 2011, 2012, got hit with limited ads. Under a manual review, it still has limited ads. So I ran into weird stuff like that.
The weirdest thing that happened to me is I got a video that so essentially it wasn't even on my channel. Basically, I worked on a project with a person, and in that video there was the word hentai for a
Mhm.
joke. Okay, there wasn't anything shown. It was in the video, and the video got removed for adult content, even though it was just
That
I
can
don't know where
happen.
the guy got scared and he just accepted it and went on. But that
Mhm.
was weird. That was really, and I think that's mostly like the OCR thing YouTube does. That just
Yeah.
hit like if you appeal that, you probably have gotten it like removed. But yeah, that kind of stuff happens,
The
and yeah.
yeah, the most wild one I've seen probably has to be, or maybe the most egregious one here. Do you know of Rob Gavigan?
No, I think I've never heard them.
He does. I think he kind of does some true crime stuff now. I'm still subscribed to him. I just don't really follow what he does.
Okay.
It wasn't really his content that was the issue, but at one point, I think everything was getting demonetized. Just everything he was doing. He quite literally had to legally change his name. His name is
What?
now Rod
What?
Gavigan, and it's fine. And
Okay.
I'm not going to say what his name was, but his last name used to be a word that could be considered a slur, but
Oh
it is
wow.
also a somewhat common last name. And his legal name was his legal name was his channel name. So at one point it was decided, hey, because your last name is quite literally a slur here, everything was getting demonetized.
This is
And the only
nuts.
way he was able to fix it was when he changed his name, which he did legally change his name to Gavigan in
Wow.
real life, and now his channel's fine.
This is so the same thing happened to Justin Wang on TikTok. Because they thought
Really?
yeah, they thought his last name was was a reference to the male genital, as far as I can tell, which is not
Oh my god.
yeah, it's a pretty common Asian surname as far as I know. Then again,
Yeah.
I'm not like So that was weird. You just like, stuff like that should be addressed by humans, but that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
It's just terrible. It's just something. But then again, you also gotta understand that we are talking about dealing with so much content. Like
Hmm.
we are looking at this from the bottom, but you have to imagine how difficult it is to handle the entire platform. So I like you can't blame them, but you also can't blame them because this is like it's a giant platform. It's hours and hours and hours of videos getting uploaded every second. You gotta check if they have anything weird in them, if they have anything copyrighted. Like yeah,
Yeah. No,
it's nuts. It's nuts.
I agree on there. The reason I was kind of doing some typing here, just because I even did like some quick math on this, quite literally. I just wanted to
Yes.
see like the daily active users on YouTube. So it's about like 122 million, right?
Yeah, that's a
So
lot.
it is, but it's so big that even if there is an issue that affects 1% of the users, which doesn't sound like that much, that means there's over 1 million users who are experiencing that issue.
Yes, just like I think 4 or 5 months ago, YouTube had an outage for like 5 minutes. Okay, and in those 5 minutes, I have this group chat with IOL friends, and they were all complaining that everything wasn't working, and it was like that was the only time I had seen YouTube down. So you like,
It's
I
very rare that it
yes.
happens. Sometimes it's even by territory as well too.
Yes, because I mean, just like every giant company, they probably used content delivery networks,
Yep,
CDNs.
of
So
course.
that makes sense. I mean, that's safe. That's also a built-in DOS protection, I think. So that's understandable why it was regional, but it's still weird because like it was 5 minutes, but I've seen like people complain, and I was like, oh wow, like this thing is free most of the year. Just give it a second, okay?
People
Yeah,
wanted their videos.
yeah.
Yeah,
Just
I
the also the ratio at which people get used to free stuff is interesting because
oh yeah,
something that is amazing yesterday is normal today, and that's just how we are as humans. Okay, you can talk about anything, and it's like the iPhone was revolutionary. 1 year after that, it was normal. Right now, AI. Okay, like image generation shocked me when I've seen it like the first time. I was like, you can make images with words and it does it for you. And now it's like, oh, okay. It's making minor mistakes. Like you get used to everything. But what I've noticed, I don't know if you noticed that too, is that with AI, the the progress is being so. I'm talking about AI because it's the hot topic right now. But the
sure.
progress is being so fast that it's faster than the ratio we usually cool down and see something as normal. Like by the time something is normal for us, something absurd has already come out.
Yeah, yeah. I think one thing it's and I guess even my opinion doesn't matter like for or against AI on here or AI on here, but there's been an understandable pushback on it. And one thing I did find kind of interesting was it, I don't know if you can corroborate this, but funny enough, I think I saw more of a positive thing for it when anime was involved. Like quite literally, I was seeing Chat GPT type stuff. I was seeing AI generated art. I was seeing all this, and there was a lot of pushback for it. And it seems like I'm not saying everyone all of a sudden flip, but it seems like a large amount of people flipped a few months ago when all of a sudden that one AI like the anime generator came out. And people, a lot of people went from I don't trust AI, I don't want to do this, I don't want to feed the algorithm to oh my god, look, I uploaded 5 pictures of myself and now I'm in an anime.
I've noticed that something that exploded was that paid service, which made the portraits in different styles. Which is like you were basically paying. I think I haven't even checked the price. I just heard this secondhand. It was basically $25 for having a stable diffusion model run on one of your pictures, which is nuts. And
Are
it
you talking about where it would like kind of like have like an animated version of you and all that?
yes, no,
Because that
but no,
happened. That happened at like the same time the anime generator was out.
no. Basically, what happened is that so you know about stable diffusion. Uh, I
Pretend I
can.
don't.
Okay,
I
no, no,
don't want to
yes,
assume anything here.
no, 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 because I can explain it quite quickly. So it's one of the after DALI, it's one of the most used models for generation. Okay, and it's been updated constantly, and it can even run locally very well. I ran it on my M1 Pro MacBook, and
Mhm.
I was able to generate some stuff. I actually posted on my Twitter there is this picture, which is interesting because I told it to make a European city with like police in a block because it was a very common picture you see in news. Okay, and it generated me a freaking shutter. No, it was like it wasn't Shutterstock. No, yeah, it was Shutterstock. Uh, a fucking watermark. Okay,
Okay.
so like it's been trained on that, and it's like it's obvious, but it's also weird to see it do that. Um, what I wanted to say is Stable Diffusion is open source. So what a company did was just they basically put this into their servers and made a paid service out of it. And you
Mhm.
weren't even guaranteed of like getting good results. Like you could get weird shit, and you just accepted that, and people paid for that. Like it exploded. I'm not kidding. Like
Sure.
that application, I think it was the second most downloaded application for like 2 days on the iPhone App Store, which is nuts. Like we're talking millions of dollars spent there,
Sure. All right.
and like people flipped when essentially I think this is ChatGPT and the anime thing you just said. Okay,
Yes.
is I think the iPhone moment for this kind of technology. People are noticing, oh, this is cool for me. I can do stuff with it. Because when you see AI in papers from afar, you see, oh yeah, this is weird. It's doing stuff. But when you see, oh, it's making me an essay. Like there is this big scandal now in American schools because uh, teachers can tell if their students are doing stuff or it's ChatGPT. Sorry, I
Mhm.
gotta drink some water. Uh,
Oh, don't worry. Water's important. Everybody hydrate,
yes,
please, if you're listening.
what I was saying is there is this huge scandal. You can Google that, where professors can tell if an essay is written by their students or by ChatGPT, and there are paid services to check that now, which is nuts. Like, they just give you like a rating. It's a percent rating, like from 0 to 100% of chance that it wasn't written by a human. And like we reached this point in what 3 months now.
Yeah, and it's growing rapidly, and I feel like that will even be kind of a that'll be a little bit of a challenge as well too, to even improve these AI algorithms and such. To be like, okay, can we be like, it generated this essay, and obviously there's a really high chance that the checker on here is seeing that it's AI generated. So how can we bring that down? And it's just going to
Yes.
improve even further.
Yeah. There was like I've seen a few papers recently on deep fake checking algorithms for videos. Okay, because there was like there are potential problems regarding international politics when it comes to deepfakes. Okay,
Sure.
for obvious reasons, even because a lot of states don't even have internet. A lot of countries, sorry, don't even have internet, and like they would believe a deepfake if they see it because they don't know what it is.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So the thing here is we are getting to a point where what you see and what you hear, you can just straight up believe it. It's the first time in
Mhm.
human history, I think, because our technology is slowly reaching the point where it's basically magic, and we are, as a society, we are not prepared for that at all. Like we don't know how to handle this because our entire like we are based on images and sounds for everything. That's how we do stuff. So being able to make stuff out of nowhere, and it's not real because like Stable Diffusion, I was talking about that before. Okay, just
Yeah.
a few days ago, a student in China, I think, I just checked the GitHub very quickly. They made ControlNet, which is this sort of plugin. So you've seen AI pictures, and they can get pretty close to the real thing, but the
Yep.
edges or some stuff get mangled up. Okay.
I've seen one thing with like there's been models or just like humans that are generated in Midsummer,
Yes.
for example,
Yes.
and one of the things that it's still figuring out is like fingers and like especially teeth.
That's fixed. Totally. by this
Yeah.
one
Yeah,
student.
and I believe it because even when I was seeing it, it was just like a few weeks ago, like 2 or 3 weeks ago, people were
Yes.
just like, "Oh my god, look at this. They didn't get the teeth right." I'm like, "Yeah, that's gonna be fixed here very soon."
Yeah. So basically, so Stable Diffusion is a general model. You can train it with any sort of content. Okay, from from anime, the one like the anime stuff you've seen was probably done with that because there's waifu diffusion, which is the model you can use to generate anime. I tried that and I fed it with the Windows XP Bliss background, and it
Mhm.
basically gave me Ghibli version of that, which was very cool.
That's
Uh,
amazing.
yes, um, but the thing is that it made mistakes. Okay, especially if you like, you can have so many parameters you gotta set, and also the prompts are very important. What this student did was, so he originally worked on another project years ago, where he basically made this AI which could color pictures. Okay, it just did that, and he never released that. He basically turned this into he integrated it with Stable Diffusion. And what you can do now is you can sketch something on paper or use a reference as a picture, and that plus this thing you made just makes that sketch an actual picture or a drawing or something perfect because it knows how stuff is made. The only things I've seen it have problems with are like cars,
Mhm.
because it's not like the models I've seen where like it can perfectly do humans now, like perfectly. I'm not kidding. I've The only problems I've seen were like with shadows in humans, and by shadows I mean like very small stuff and stuff in the background, like cars. It can do cars, so it just mixes two cars together, and it's weird. Um,
It's
but
trying its best, okay.
yes, but like I like by this ratio, 2 months and it's gonna be fixed. we
I
we
believe it.
we are reaching the point where so this person does not exist was a thing for years now. Okay,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah, yeah.
if you don't know about this website, you're listening at home. Uh, just go on your browser and type this person does not exist.com, and every time you reload the page, you're gonna see a randomly non-existing generated person. Okay, and that was a thing for like a few years now. It's not new.
Mhm.
The way this works is they basically they train an AI on just human faces, which is like if you only have a face to do, it's easier. The thing here is that that's totally random. While with Stable Diffusion, you can create stuff from nowhere with your own prompt, or even edit existing photos, which is terrifying. Like
Yes, yeah, and I've
yes,
seen some terrifying stuff from that.
yes. Like I like the concept. I like the technology, but we gotta be ready as a society for it, and we are still not ready. And I hope we will be ready soon. I am not against like I'm not a ludist. I'm not trying to stop technology. I just want people to be aware that technology is here
No, that's
because
fair.
yes,
Yeah. I realized as you were talking because you had brought up waifu on there.
yes,
That is probably because I really haven't messed with Chat GPT. I haven't messed with Midsummer. I didn't do that whole anime generator on there. Just really haven't done anything. I've kind of just observed what's been going on.
yes.
However, I will send you this real quick.
Let me see.
Yes, there was a. I realized that I've actually used Waifu 2X several times. I've used it for the past few years. It's
Oh yeah,
gotten
yeah. I
better.
use it all the time.
Yeah, it's great because I'm one of those people. I'm not the best with image editing. But there's been stuff like even literally my background that I'm using on my computer, for example, where when I upgraded to 1440p, my preferred, I guess, yeah, background image. Yeah, that's it. It was only in 1080p, couldn't get a high resolution, so I
I
ended up
got that.
using
Yes.
Waifu 2X to scale it up, and it did a great job. I realized recently, like it was one of my more recent episodes of Mod Chat, I was covering the release of Hinlo, and there was a smiling Doge meme that I wanted to put in there and pop it onto a Vita. The problem was I was finding the image, but the image was such a low resolution, and even when I was kind of like manipulating it, it just looked way too crunchy. So it's still like not the best. But then I realized, like in the midst of it, like kind of getting a little frustrated in Photoshop, I was like, wait a minute, I forgot Waifu 2X is a thing. So I took like the base image, threw it up into Waifu 2X, and it did like a pretty decent job of making it look better. It still looks crunchy, mind you, but like this was the result here. And I was like, perfect,
Let's
that's what
see.
I need. Yeah, and I
Okay.
was able
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So just like the smiling Doge doesn't look as crunchy as it would be, but that's more been like, I guess, my usefulness with AI, where just doing that type of upscaling is
Okay.
super helpful.
Yeah. So the reason why it's called waifu diffusion, just like waifu 2x, is, as far as I know, because both of them are trained on the Danboro pictures, which is like this website full of anime pictures.
Gotcha.
So, but one is basically a model for stable diffusion, so it can generate stuff. One is used to just restore pictures, and it's amazing. I use waifu tracks all the time, um, even just to restore like logos, because it does an amazing job. Uh, like, I've also noticed that there are loads of upscaling models. I use some of them even for real footage. Okay, but with real
Mhm.
footage, it tends to get weird because it doesn't understand where, like, what human skin is. So it just matches people. You probably have seen something like that online. There was that Rick Astley 4K upscale of "Never Gonna Give You Up," which was like,
Yes, yeah.
and yeah, it looked alright at a first glance, but then you realize that everything is just either too blurry or too sharp, and that the movements are too fluid for a human. It doesn't work that way, and that's
Right.
because,
Yeah,
yeah,
because wasn't it at like didn't it run at 60 frames, I want to say?
no, it so the original video, I think it was 24, and they upscale it
Yes.
to 60. And when you do
There we
that,
go.
of course, some artifacts are involved because it's trying to make movement where there is none. And with humans, you tend to notice that a lot because we are wired to check how other humans work. So if you see a humans like behaving weird, which is what we see in that because it's uncanny, we usually realize that. They're also fixing this, of course.
Of
uh
course, yeah.
yeah. So I my entire discussion here was AI is getting to a point where it's difficult for me to have technology impress me. Okay, for example, the Steam Deck impressed me for the first like 2 weeks. Then I got used to it. If that makes sense. Okay, I like,
No, it
okay,
does, yeah.
I have a small. It's basically a laptop in a console shell. But okay, I have it. It's great. I love it. But it's not surprising me anymore. The thing with AI, it's that it's just surprising me every other day now. Like ChatGPT, for example. Okay, I started using it because like I was assuming it was basically a glorified Akinator. Okay, a glorified Cleverbot, something that
Yeah,
gave
yeah,
you
yeah.
some answers. I mean, it's trained, it has a database, but they are predetermined. But then I started giving it more and more questions, and the thing that kinda made me flip on it is I asked it to write some code. Okay, and it did a wonderful job in 2 seconds. Okay,
Yes, it
it
can do
wrote
that.
me, yeah, it wrote me a Python script for a very basic action. So I basically told it like to automate browsing a website I made as a test using Selenium Web. Basically, it had to click on a button automatically. Okay,
Mhm.
and to do that, I gave it the input and I gave it the snippet of the HTML page. Uh, and it just did that. Like it did it instantly, and it was nuts. Like I realized, okay, this is very powerful. Like, and it's only trying to guess what comes. Like, it's only trained on text. It can do this because in that text it found code, and so it knows what it's likely to come after a word. It's nuts. It's generally nuts, and that's also, as far as I can tell, it's also how the image generation works. Like, it takes a seed and it tries to guess what's next based on the training info. Uh, and it's already doing a wonderful job just like that. Basically going by brute force because it's trying to understand what comes. It's crazy. And it's getting more complicated because now they're getting modular. So multiple AIs are connected to each other. Like this example here of the outline, the sketch thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Just doing that has fixed so many problems. And we are not like ready to see what comes next, and we gotta be ready because this is generally world changing. I'm not really worried for jobs right now, even though I don't know anything. Like I don't have any degree in economics or anything. But personally, I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about the impact on society because we are not used to not being able to trust pictures or video or sound. And that's something that is available right now as we speak. Okay. Video is
Right.
is not nailed down because nailing consistency. So basically, you can generate a video with AI, but details are changing from frame to frame, so you can tell. Google has already fixed that. Like they have a private AI which can do coherent video, and it's weird. And OpenAI has its own one too, and Amazon is working on one. Every single media is now being automized, and that's just what shocks us because we are not used to that. On the back end, code is being automized, so even programming, it's not like this is generally something I don't think we are ready for. And
Yeah,
I'm excited, but also how do you handle this as a society?
I was gonna say within the last year, I do remember when I think it was called GitHub Pilot when
Yes,
that
yes,
ended up
yes, the
releasing,
the
which
assistant.
was yeah, where it was kind of like the data it was feeding off of was, I mean, a lot of code that it had, but then also all the code available on GitHub, and then it was using that to essentially like when you go into, I don't know, like Gmail or Outlook or something, and you're typing up an email that has recommendations for what to type next on there, you can kind of just
Yes,
either
yes.
tab or swipe across it. It was the equivalent of that in coding language that you could use as opposed to just plain English. And I know that had a lot of controversy because I mean, then you're getting into stuff like, okay, well, what about the licenses on all of
Yes, yes,
this? And
yes,
maybe
yes.
some of this code that is in here that has been uploaded wasn't allowed to be uploaded. So then is it supposed to be trained off of that? And yeah, there was a lot of controversy there. But now then you just have stuff like ChatGPT, for example, where it's like, oh, hey, here's the entire code in 2 seconds. You didn't even have to type anything for this.
Yeah, like, and I think like less than a year has passed. Okay, so and it's like ChatGPT is free now. Okay, it's free because they're training it based on your data, but it's
Yes.
something that is there free. And when it's going away, something is going to replace it and be maybe powered by ads. But that technology is there and it's not going away. And it's
No.
something people have to get used to. And I'm very happy that this is a thing. Like I be straight up serious about this. I am excited for AI. I think that it can make loads of like even like the progress in science is gonna be helped by this. I've read something recently about someone made an AI to analyze audio, okay, the human voice, and
Yeah.
it turns out it could accidentally detect COVID, which is nuts just by the small variations in the pitch that COVID could introduce.
Really?
Yes. So this kind of stuff is very exciting. Like imagine this applied to research. Okay, because it's essentially the ultimate pattern seeking tool, which is for research is amazing. It's exactly what we need for lots of stuff. I have this friend which is a he essentially works on genetical engineering. Okay,
Hmm.
and his entire field is being advanced a lot by AI right now as we speak because it can basically find yes, the patterns have to be verified of course, but it makes stuff faster. Okay, that, and
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
if you heard like in the last 10 years about CRISPR, the gene editing technology.
I didn't hear about that, no.
So
Or I'm not
basic
following at
so
least.
I used to, like I just follow lots of stuff like that. Basically, up until a few years ago, to do any sort of genetic engineering, you had to brute force it. Like in the US, they used radiation a lot. Like they just blasted radiation to like plants until they mutate into something useful or interesting. Right
Mhm.
now, we can just edit what we want. And it's a $20 kit everyone can buy. There is a YouTuber which modified his, I think it was like part of his DNA to stop being lactose intolerant. And
Oh,
that happened,
geez.
yeah, years ago. This is not something new. And combining this with AI is fucking nuts because you can like just imagine what you can do.
Yeah.
There is this documentary on Netflix about this CRISPR thing. I don't know the name because it was basically out of play. I stopped watching another documentary like years ago, and it played, and it was a documentary about CRISPR where they were showing a guy in the US which made fluorescent dogs. Just you could see these dogs in the night, and he had done that because they were like clients were asking for them because they were supposed to guard ship. And it's nuts. Like he made fluor, and this was a guy with no science degree at all. Just made them. He took the DNA from an insect which was fluorescent and made fluorescent dogs, and there were no side effects.
Okay.
Yeah,
Huh. All
it's
right.
nuts. It's generally not, like and this was like years ago. It's not something new. And you gotta think, okay, he's so combining these two things, you can see why this is getting like why genetic engineers are excited. At least
Yeah.
the ones I talked to. Um, but yeah, AI is just exciting in I think every field. It's just that we gotta get used to it very fast because it's here and we don't know how far ahead we are in the progress. Because okay, this might like we might peak in 1 month. We don't know. Okay, but if we are just at the start of the queue, which seems to be the case, if we are only starting to be able to exploit this, like, can you imagine where we are going to be like in 5 years?
I can't at all, and, like, that's the thing, I don't know what direction we're going to go,
Yes.
what this will lead, because it seems like we can use it as a tool to assist, but then I'm not sure how far this will all go.
Yes, this is the first time in my life where I can't really have a prediction on technology anymore. Because like I could have a sort of prediction years ago. I remember when I was in middle school. Okay, I remember thinking, yeah, I've so Android phones were just coming out. Okay, that was the thing. No, okay, they were out by a few years.
Sure.
Basically, they were
We all
becoming
forget
common.
about the, like, original ones, but yeah.
Yeah, no, no, yeah, they were becoming more common, more cheaper and cheaper, and I was thinking, okay, how can they last for hours like that without? And I discovered about ARM. I checked what ARM was, and I was like, okay, they're definitely going to make computers out of this. Okay, this technology will end up in retail computers,
Mhm.
and I mean, I'm currently using a computer that is running completely on ARM because x86 is very obsolete. Like it's basically legacy. The only reason we are keeping x86 64 is because we are used to it and we don't want to rewrite legacy programs. But it's very old,
Sure.
and that's the reason why Macs are so fast. And this Mac that I'm talking to you through right now can run that AI model I just mentioned locally. So I don't
Yeah,
need
yeah,
to
yeah,
be.
yeah, yeah.
It's and that's nuts to me. Like I have this computer which can make images on its own. It's literally magic to me. Like
It
I,
is, and I have to love it to some extent.
yes, like I love it. But like I could predict this computer. I couldn't predict this.
The entire industry of AI that we're seeing right now.
This it's not even an industry. This stuff is open source. It's just people all over the world making it, and it's amazing. Like I'd rather this be open source than having it controlled by one company.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, but it's something I wasn't told. Like it was sci-fi to me, imagining a computer making an image like that instantly. Because
Mhm.
I knew about neural networks when I was younger, but I didn't like. I was like, okay, I wasn't thinking about the applications in this sense. If that makes sense. What I was like, the only use case I was thinking of when I was like in high school for neural networks was to upscale anime, because my
Yeah.
idea was, okay, if you can, like, it's easy, not really easy, but so have you seen Evangelion?
You know,
I
I
am not
honestly
going to.
haven't. I need to watch it. I know I
Okay,
need to watch it, but I haven't seen it.
it's not because I want to make spoilers, but because basically, Evangelion has been remastered by Sony,
Mhm.
and for the remasters, almost every episode except two have been rescanned from the original drawings. Okay, and what I was thinking is essentially what this amounted to was a retracing of the outlines and everything, and a recoloring. And I was like, hey, you can teach a computer to do that because they are lines and colors. And I mean, that was my like that was the best case scenario in my head, like having a computer do that for you. Not having a computer do an entire anime out of nowhere with a script it wrote based on two words you gave it. And that's the point we're reaching. Like I think in 5-10 years we're gonna have totally like complete media, like audio, video, and plot made by AI, and
Oh, certainly, it's going to happen.
it's gonna be weird. Like you're gonna have streaming services not like suggesting you stuff, but making stuff for you. Which is
Mhm. I'm thinking of have you ever seen the show Silicon Valley?
yes, I love it. It's one
Did you
of Yeah.
Did you finish it?
Yes.
I'm just thinking, okay, so spoiler alert for anybody who's, listening to this here. But no, you remember the part where near the end they were going to launch it, and
Yes.
there was AI that was heavily integrated into it, and then what stopped it was they started noticing that it wasn't like in this example, it wasn't delivering a message verbatim. It
Yeah.
was correcting mistakes. And they're like, wait, we didn't program this. And then they saw that it was alive, and then they end up pulling the plug on it at the end
Yeah.
because they're just like, we can't unleash this onto the world.
Yeah. Yeah. It was like that, and also I remember the Tesla password cracking, the SHA
Oh,
25 is yeah
yes,
25
yeah,
is.
where he and yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, and again, fantastic show, but essentially they take their AI and they point it at a Tesla to crack the encryption to start up the car, and what the car doesn't the car it gets cracked and starts driving within like 3
Yes,
hours.
yes. Oh, also, I love how they wrote the character of Jill Foyle, because he's
Oh
exactly
yes.
like every single sysadmin I met, and I love that. Like, like it's great. Yeah. So basically, great show. But yeah, we we are reaching that point. I don't even want to think about cracking passwords with AI, because we are used to brute forcing. We are not used to something that can think about what makes sense and what doesn't.
Hmm.
And that's nuts. And it's not even that. It's just wow. It's mind
There's a
boggling.
lot.
It's a
Yeah.
lot to take, because okay, just think about even face recognition systems. They can be tricked by AI if we go this way. AI, like I was thinking, okay, yeah, AI can do images, but 3D models, yeah, they are nailing that one too. Like there is currently a model which can roughly generate a complete 3D image from a picture, and that picture can also be an AI generated one. So it's
So it's just all like coming onto itself in that
yes,
way. Yeah, it's just
as I
like
was saying before,
folding, I
it's
guess.
becoming very modular. Like
Mhm.
what we were seeing up until now were mostly, I wouldn't say like single iterations, but when you connect them together, that's where they become something like weird in a good sense, because it's so good you can't believe what you're seeing. It's like it's literally technology from the future for, and it's here now. And
For sure.
it's wild. uh one AI that really surprised me was, so I've been into audio and videos basically my entire life. Okay, audio and
Yeah.
video was something I do, and something that was impossible to really correct was echo. So if you record an audio
Yeah.
in a really echoey room, you're fucked. Like you're not you're not fixing that. Like you can try to EQ it down, and you can try to use
Yeah,
various tricks
it's
to
it's
filter.
gotten better now, but yeah.
So right now, as we speak, if you don't notice, listening at home, there is this Adobe AI, which is free. Like you just Google
Yeah.
Adobe Podcast. You log in using your Google account or whatever. You can upload a video, and since it's trained on only human voice, it can detect how your voice sounds like, and like it fixes the audio for you by understanding what's voice and what's not. And it's not like this was basically something that was unsolvable up until a few months ago, and now it's normal. Like everyone is
I
using it. I've seen.
I r I remember that. I remember you actually introduced it to me because I guess, well,
Yes.
spoiler alert here for anyone listening. I have, like, a very, very, very small, like, soundbite in, like, an upcoming video you're
Yeah.
doing, but I remember when you messaged me at the time, like, you quite literally said, or no, it was I think no, I think it was initially, yeah, you said, "Hey, can you just do this line? But it doesn't even have to be good. You can use your phone or something. It doesn't matter." And of course, I'm like, "No, no, no. I'm going to try and like provide
Yeah.
the best thing here," which was like the worst thing because like at the time it was just as soon as I had people over, like family was visiting, and then as soon as I was trying to like find a pocket to record, then all of a sudden there was a ton of noise outside that just would not stop. But then you showed me that, and I was just like, oh, okay. So that would make sense. This is why you said it doesn't matter because quite literally you could just take my audio recording that had, a lawnmower in the background, run it through Adobe software right there, and it just completely cleaned it up.
Yeah. It's like I so basically me and a friend, this friend used to make videos on YouTube when he was a kid. Okay. So he
Mhm.
still has them saved, and they had terrible audio. We put them through that. It was weird because you basically add a studio version of a kid's gameplay pointing the camera towards a TV. So it's
That's
nuts.
amazing.
Yeah, it's what I noticed though is that it tends to make a lot of mistakes when music is involved, because it mistakes the frequencies of music with the frequencies of the human voice, which is understandable because they all
Hmm.
reside in the midst. So that's something that's probably going to be fixed in a few months by this ratio. But yeah, I mean, this AI, the thing is, the more you use them, the better they get. That's literally how they work,
Yep.
because the models are trained on user data. And like yeah, that's why it's kind, I won't say when I say scary, I don't mean like I am personally scared, because I mean, this stuff is here. Getting scared doesn't get us anywhere. Like, being scared of something, in my case, is like, we gotta be aware of this. We gotta be aware that this is where stuff is going, but not in the sense of trying to stop it, because stopping innovation never works. Like Ludism
Fair.
didn't work. What I mean is that we gotta be aware that we are going towards something we can't predict at all, because we have created prediction algorithms so good this that they can make images, they can make pictures of real people that don't exist today with like perfect body geometry, and it's something
Yeah,
that is mind-boggling to me. Like it's something we like a little, it's becoming magic. It's completely like, in a few years it's gonna become completely indistinguishable from magic. Yeah, I'm
I believe it.
yeah, gotta drink more water because
Oh,
I'm yeah.
absolutely. No, it's all good. Yeah, water's important. Funny enough,
It's
I
like
actually
4 a.m. here. Well, I'm like going like a
yes, and
train.
I very much appreciate you yeah, adjusting this here.
No worries. No,
Yeah, it's okay. We talked about this beforehand for
yes, yes.
anybody who might be worried. It was like, no,
Here's
you because you told me like this time will actually work best for me. Like, okay,
yeah.
cool, we got it.
The thing is that as I was like, I'm gonna tell them too. I'm currently not at my own place. Like, there's people usually here, and I didn't want any noise, and this was the only spot where I didn't have noise.
Mm. Yeah, no, that's
uh,
valid.
yeah, so I had to flip my sleep schedule, but that's fine. I mean, you
Yeah.
can see that I'm not, I am not sleeping. So
That happens, yes.
um, no, yeah, this
I,
I didn't want to turn this entire thing into an AI thing. I just wanted to
sure.
share this because it's
No, no, it's all good. I did want to kind of ask because it was like this was kind of brought up a bit. You were talking about the videos out there, but I did kind of want to like direct it at you and ask. I guess
yes.
what got you into YouTube?
Oh,
I've been curious about that.
I've been following. I've been subscribed to YouTube. So I've had several channels. Okay, since
Of
basically its
course, yeah.
inception. I remember distinctly the first time I've seen a YouTube video was I went to this friend's place, and his mom. I was basically in elementary school. He was a friend that I knew because we played games, like Wii games together. And that's the kind of stuff. Like, and the first YouTube video I have seen ever was him showing me dogs on his mom's laptop. And
Okay.
yeah, so I've been aware of YouTube since forever, since basically its inception. um, I got into making videos on my own because I've been following lots of YouTubers. I've been doing some editing for other people. I've been doing some stuff around like that. I was like, okay, I like writing, I like editing. I have stuff to say. I have lots. Why don't I do this and see how it goes? And that's how I got into it. And what I noticed is that there were loads of stories, especially so I my channel. I wouldn't say it's a video games channel or a tech channel because I really talk
Sure.
about anything. But I noticed that a lot of stories not were being untold, like the We Started This one, for example, or the Audio Channel one. There's stuff that I wanted to see videos of that just videos weren't made of. Like
Hmm.
there weren't any videos about it. Okay, that's what I mean. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna try and publish some videos. So after like the first video that's on my channel right now is a tutorial, and this was before I started actually like committing to making videos. The first video on my channel on Fami is a tutorial on how to make the GLaDOS voice from Portal. Okay,
Hmm.
but right after that, if you see, you start to see like um, videos that are more scripted. Okay, because I was like, okay, I'm gonna try and do this and see how it goes, and it it's going well. What happened is kind of crazy because so the basically the channel started going in almost immediately. I made a video about the 3DS, and that got big on Reddit, and I got my first like 300 subscribers in one day.
All
It
right.
was a video about AGB Firm, which is the feature that lets you play GBA games on your 3DS, and it does that
Yes.
not
Yeah.
through emulation by using an hypervisor. So it's not emulating; it's running the AR, yeah, the ARM code on basically bare metal. It's just virtualizing it, which is it's not emulation. It's got great input lag, basically none. And I talked about that, and I was saying, look, it's so good you can play Rhythm Heaven on it, the Japanese version.
Hmm.
And that video, basically, I won't say it exploded. It had attention, and I was like, okay, I can keep doing this. I was very worried because like English isn't my first language. Like I am fluent in it. I can talk English. I mean,
Hmm.
I am sleep deprived now, and I think I'm understandable. Like it's one of the four or five languages I I can speak, but it's not my first one. I was like, fuck, are people going to like not watch my videos because maybe my English is weird? But no, it turns out that it's fine. I was just self conscious about my accent and shit. Um, so I kept doing that. I kept doing that, and I reached the point where I what happened was I made like I think 15 videos on the channel at the time, and one of my friends reached out to me, and they told me, "Look, why don't you try uploading on TikTok some shorter versions of your videos?" And I was like, "No, I'm not gonna do that because I don't like chopping parts. Like something I like. Oh,
Also, like we were against vertical video for so long.
no, yeah. Oh, like it's still weird to me. Like my sister, she shoots like she sends me videos on like social media, shot in vertical, and I'm like, why you doing that? Like it's weird because I always think, yeah, but what if I want to see this on my TV? That's
Yep.
always like because I always think about the big screen. Okay, uh, yeah, so I was against that, but mostly because like how can you shorten a video that's like 20 minutes long and it's a video about a game and you go into detail? You can't make a 1 minute version on that. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna upload, but I'm gonna make some stuff that's like just for that platform. And I ended up making some YouTube shorts which I then re-uploaded on TikTok. And the thing is, TikTok got like it immediately got traction to the point where bigger YouTubers started noticing me, and that's actually how I got my job. I currently am a screenwriter for a Lost by Gamer, and he found me through TikTok. Like he
That's
just,
awesome.
yeah, like he basically clicked on my profile. There was my YouTube there. He found my YouTube, and he was seeing what I was doing, and he basically just told me, "Hey, I like how you write stuff." And like it's still mind-boggling to me because back then it was 2020/2021, and I just was getting out of the COVID period because I mean the lockdowns were ending,
Right. Right.
and I didn't like I was in uni, but I didn't know what I was going to do next because I didn't have any job security. I didn't have like I was just starting because I mean I live in Europe, so studying is free. I got free tuition, I
Right.
got
Right.
free scholarship, I got they give you everything, an apartment. If you like, if you don't have the money to pay for studying, the government is going to handle that. And so I was studying.
That's nice.
Yeah, like you don't even have to pay for food. They even pay for the cafeteria.
A
That's
serious. Okay.
yes.
That's nice.
So I was doing that because I mean my family is pretty much low income, and I was doing just I was studying and trying to understand what to do next. And this offer just popped out of nowhere, and I was like, okay, I guess I have some idea of what I'm doing then. And I started working for him, and I kept making videos on my channel because I like doing that, and apparently people like watching them. So that's just how it went. And my main goal right now is to never like uh right now, you know that because you are in that video. This video I'm working on, it's taking 6 months now. Which means
Yes.
like I could have split it and released it on December to get the other revenue for December, which is huge. But in my point of view is I'm trying to do something I like here. I'm not trying to bar myself down for money,
Hmm.
because I've seen time and time again YouTubers talk about how they slowly started just making stuff to please the algorithm and started not liking what they were doing. So I'd rather just, I mean, I have a job now and it's also video related, so that's amazing. But on my channel, at least, I want to be able to have full creative control and make something I like all the time, even if it takes months. uh, I'll try to, of course, never have it, like never have something delayed this much. But this is just me trying to do stuff I want to do exactly how I want to do it, even
Hmm.
if it costs me money or time. I don't know. It's just I'm making this because I like making this, not because of I want like making money or stuff like that. I just
Yeah, no,
like making videos. Yeah.
and that's valid. I totally respect that. I know with and that can be hard to balance as well too. Just because I've seen this with a lot of YouTubers where they'll do the YouTube thing and then they will get a job in that same sphere,
Yeah.
thankfully due to their YouTube. This is becoming less common now. I know at times there's been like companies where it's pretty much a conflict of interest. So you'll see some people who they
Oh
can't
yeah.
make YouTube videos personally,
Yeah.
but then
Yeah.
a lot of them just kind of stop for a while because it's understandable. It's like the video thing is what they're doing all day at work, and then they don't want to get off work and do more video stuff. So I can totally understand that. So props to you for still continuing to do it
Um,
personally.
I have to say, Alex Lospe Gamer has been great about this, giving me basically time and everything to work on, like on his work and my projects, and that's just him being a great boss essentially.
That's
He,
awesome.
yes, like I can't complain about that. He's been fantastic about this. I don't know if he's watching this, but if you're watching, good, you're like, thank you. So this is what helped me, and also the fact that I'm trying to mix stuff around. So, for example, if I'm working on, I don't know, writing for work, I'll try to work on editing for my stuff, if that makes sense, because it's different stuff. It's like, okay, it's video, but editing something that you have already written is different than what you did in the morning, which is writing for someone else, maybe.
Oh, that's fair.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's how I'm doing it, and it's working for me. And yeah, but I can get it. Also, for the stuff you said about conflict of interest, there was a big case. Like I remember having a few videos pop up in my feed about Linus Tech Tips, because apparently his employees can't have a YouTube channel, something like that.
Uh,
Like they
who
they
was it?
Linus Tech Tips.
Oh, Linus. Okay.
Yeah, I heard that like there was, I don't know if that's the case, like if that's true, but I heard that if you work for him, you can't like have a regular online presence in the same field. And
All
I
right.
it's that I like, I can understand that, but it's also kind of it kind of sucks.
Hmm.
Like I don't know, it's something that would scare me off completely, because I mean, I get what he's trying to do. Maybe he's trying to scout talent that's like it hasn't exploded yet on their own. But I mean, that's really weird. I don't know. I mean, I repeat, I get him. I get why he's doing that, but it's still like I don't know. I wouldn't do that.
Mhm. No, I totally understand. It'd be tough there. I know, like for myself, because I personally I have a job outside
Yeah.
of the YouTube thing, 'cause I don't do this full time, but it's very much a thing for me where I've kind of made that decision where I'm like, I probably wouldn't want to do video stuff as a full time thing, not even just the YouTube stuff, but like outside of YouTube,
Yeah.
because I think for me, even like taking any type of conflict of interest out of it, I think I would just get too burned out on it.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, but in my case, like, what helps is that I'm doing different. Like, I'm not editing all day,
Yes.
and that's the main thing. You gotta keep it switched around, and for me it's working. And I am something who doesn't have a lot of patience or attention span. So if it's working for me, then that means it's probably gonna keep working.
That's
Then
fair.
again, yeah. Then again, as I said, Alex is a great person. She's like been super supportive, always helping me. If I need to work on something for myself, he lets me. Like he I get to have the time to do whatever I want to do, which is very important. And like I can't thank him enough for that, because that's not always the case at all. I've heard some terrible stories about like people working for YouTubers having been treated not good. Let's just say that. And
Sure.
it's not the case. He's been wonderful, and that's why I don't feel burnout at all, because I just work on. I'm able to switch around, which is something like he's not telling me exactly what to do, which is the main
Mhm.
thing. So I'm currently a producer for him. I'm not even just a writer. I also do other stuff, and that really helps me. Just being able to not do the same thing all day is what kind of saves me. That makes sense.
No, no, that totally makes sense.
And also the fact that he has a very defined format, which is very different from mine. I mean, we might talk about similar stuff, but the style and the pacing and everything, we do different stuff in that sense.
Yes. Yeah.
I am way faster in the kind of exposition I have. I make different jokes. I do different stuff. That's what I do. So yeah, they're both video, but it's just stuff that's different. The entire editing process is different, and yeah, it's basically it's like talking about food. Okay, and a hamburger and a pizza both can stop you being hungry, but they are different foods.
That's true.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's been the case for me. But then again, it's mostly because he's an amazing boss. That's pretty much it.
That's awesome. And that's a
Yeah.
rarity as well too. It's really nice when you can find a boss that you really vibe with on that
Yes,
level.
yes, yes, yes. Like I don't have any complaints. I'm serious. I'm just very happy to like I also love doing that. Like I love working on those videos because I love what I get to do. I get to research and write about stuff I'm interested in. Like I wrote a PlayStation video for him. Okay.
Mhm.
And I had to basically go through the entire story of the PlayStation and read everything about it written by the people who work on the project. And it was amazing. Like I would have done that by myself because I was curious, and it's my
Sure.
job. So that's why I'm yeah.
That's the most exciting thing when you can like get paid for something that you absolutely love
Yes,
doing.
yes, yes, yes. And I mean, I think it also can impact the quality of your work, because if you like
Yes.
what you're doing and you want to, you make sure it's a good job.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say that you're
Well, I
not
mean,
doing it
it's
just to get the paycheck. It makes sense.
yeah, I mean, it's a very simple thing where it's like if
Sorry.
you're all good. Not necessarily. I mean, comfort to some extent. If you get too comfortable, then you don't really want to move on and stuff. But if
Yes,
you
yes,
are
yes, yes,
genuinely happy and excited and enjoy what you're doing, then hey, you're probably going to pay more attention to it and do good
yes.
stuff.
I also totally can see like your side where you say, okay, this is my hobby. I don't want to burn out. I'm gonna divide
Yep.
the two things, and it's a great approach. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, because for me, there can be times where and I heavily rely on doing a lot of, scheduled videos and, like,
yes,
I
yes,
kinda like to
yes,
do my stuff in batches, so there can quite literally be times where it's like, "Hey, I don't wanna work on any videos for 3 weeks," and if I want to do that, I just have to plan a little bit around it, and I can do it, and thankfully, it's still I've occasionally taken, like, a break or, like, missed something here and there, but for the most part, I can still deliver content to the masses, but I can
yes.
have that break from it.
In my case, so I I made the mistake a few like a year or two ago. I had a weekly schedule. It was nuts for my content because I make essays. And I mean,
Mhm.
I didn't like the ideas. I didn't like the scripts. I have already like several scripts already written because I just write when I have free time. That's one of my hobbies. I write
Alright.
scripts. I am very active. I like you can see how fast I talk. That's how I am. I just do lots of stuff all the time. So the problem is that my body wasn't handling the editing process where I had to edit an entire essay every week. So, like that,
Mhm.
you can't do that. So I switched from that to working on a video, and when it's ready, it's ready. And the first two ones that follow that thing was sorry were the bootleg cartridge one, the Mario one. I don't know if you've seen that one, the $5,000 cartridge.
I was checking here. I got part way through it, so I was probably
Okay,
definitely watching it
yes.
while eating, and then I finished my food.
No, don't worry. That video was an experiment. It was one of my first long form videos because it's like 35, 38 minutes, I think, to 35
Hmm.
minutes, 38 seconds, if I remember correctly. Um, so there's that, which is just, it was my first experiment to, okay, I'm going to make this video. I'm going to take the time to finish it. And like that video went well. It really went well. So I just kept doing that with the startup this channel video.
Hmm. Yeah, which that
And
one I loved.
yes, thank you. And then with the arrow video, and then with the homebrew channel video, and those videos
Yes,
are
yeah.
going well. So I think this is the way to go, and it's also great because I get to talk about what I like, and I take the time to do that. I'm gonna like I'm gonna try to keep that time shorter than 6 months this time, but this video that I'm working on that you are in, it's quite long. It's a complex story, so I guess it's warranted. Let's just say that, and I think that helps because having like it's different to think about. Okay, I'm doing this video. It's a long project. I'm gonna take the time and to have like in your mind, oh, I have to post weekly like you do because it's a different kind of content. If that makes sense.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, like in my case, I don't really feel burnout because I don't really have set deadlines. I just go, okay, when it's done, it's done. I just need to remind myself to work on this thing. Or, I mean, I also procrastinate a lot, so I have to remind me constantly. But I like working on stuff. It's just the barrier of starting doing something that makes sense.
Mhm.
But like having the idea that a video doesn't have to be ready next week, but like in 3 months or 4 months, helped me. My goal right now after I publish this video is publishing monthly, and it's doable. But just
Alright.
even monthly is nothing compared to what you do because like it's like I have way more time to do stuff.
That's fair. Yeah.
Uh,
And I guess with it though, even like compared to and I appreciate it like when you're saying like compared to what I do and everything. I guess when it comes to even like what I'm doing though, the thing is, and I'm sure you can kind of attest to this, like once you kind
yes.
of do something enough times and do it often enough, it kind of just becomes very automatic. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I've run into that with friends I've talked to offline, where there's been friends I've discussed things with, and they've tried to do the YouTube thing, and I think one of them he was kind of doing some let's play type stuff, and he's got a full time job, he's also got a wife, and then he still enjoys having a social life, gaming up and everything, but he's learning video editing, he is kind of doing the SEO type thing. I was proud of him, he was making use of scheduled videos,
Oh,
but he
nice.
kind of just told me, he's like, it's so hard. It can be so hard to do that. And it's so tough because it takes so long. And like, I'm not sure how you're able to do it. And I kind of just said, I'm like, I'm not like necessarily professional on it. It's just I've been doing this for so long and so often that it's kind of just a thing I do now. But
Yeah, I get it.
if you're just learning and getting into it, yeah, I totally understand where it's going to take you 8 hours to make, a short crappy video.
Yeah, I downloaded Sony Vegas in 2008 for the first time, so you can get why I'm like I know how to video edit. Basically, I can I have the muscle memory for the Vegas shortcuts. That's what I'm saying. Uh, Even though I'm not using Vegas anymore, which is it's funny.
Yeah, I
But
I will I will say real quick on Sony Vegas, that was I hate that that kind of became the standard for a bit. I have used Sony Vegas a few times. I don't like Sony Vegas. I'm a Premiere person. I was kind of like
okay,
I was doing here's the thing, I was doing like Windows Movie Maker like way back when, and then I tried other different editors like Pinnacle and stuff, and then in high
oh,
school
Pinnacle,
this was
wow,
like this was
that's
the
throwback.
I think in like a class I was introduced to yes, it was a throwback, but I was introduced in class to Premiere, and then I
Okay,
started using that, and I've just it's just I'm comfortable with it. I actually like the updates. I'm used to the workflow. I'm used to everything on
I can
there.
get that.
Yeah, but when it comes down to it, it's like I'm one of those people, I firmly believe Premiere is the better product than Vegas. And then people try and tell me, oh, well, Vegas does this easier or this or this. And I'm like, it's not easier or it's not better. It's just you know how to do it.
Yeah.
That's the only thing.
The
But the
only
thing
reason
is with
I was used like the reason I started using Vegas was because I watched YTPMVs when I was a kid. Okay, so
yes, yeah.
if you like, if people hearing don't know what they are, what those are, it's basically YouTube pop music videos. So essentially,
I know what you're
okay,
talking about. Yeah.
yeah. So Sony Vegas, this is a weird story, is built as far as I can tell on the on the top of the source code for SoundForge. It's basically, it's become a video editor by evolution. And
Hmm.
but when they were doing that, they didn't strip away the code for pitch shifting and stuff like and reverb. Like you can
Yeah.
load full on audio VSTs into Vegas and they will work, which is crazy. Um, so people started using those to pitch clips like samples, and those like that scene turned into the current YTPMV scene.
Hmm.
It's more complex than that because there is the entire Japanese scene of Nico Nico Video, which isn't even in YouTube. It's something else, and they started using Reaper. But basically, the reason I started using Vegas is because, oh, okay, I can also edit audio here and make this. That's why. Okay. And then I just stuck to it because I learned everything and I was, okay, I can do
That's
normal
fair.
videos too here. But
Yeah.
like, it's, I just know how to use the product because by brute force, I had to learn it because it was the only thing that did both
That's
well.
what we all had to do. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think the funny thing I find with Vegas, and the reason why I guess maybe I have some like annoyance with it as well too, is like it's and maybe you could let me know on this as well too.
Yeah.
It's one of those programs. It seems like nobody organically found it or was organically introduced to it. Essentially, it seems like every single person I know that got onto Vegas used it because either their favorite YouTuber used it or someone told them to use it. Because their favorite YouTuber used it because it was like the first because it is a professional editor, mind you. I'm not going to
Yes.
put that down, but it was like the first like accessible professional editor that every 14-year-old figure out how to torrent and how to apply the crack
It's
on.
I think that a big part of it is that it was very easy to crack. It was like a one button crack.
Yes.
Everyone knows
Yeah.
the do,
It-
do, 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 because of it was the crack theme for Vegas Pro 9
I think
and
the
13.
yeah, and I think the biggest thing or like the not the biggest, but like the first even like introduction I heard about it was I remember it was 2007 2008. One of like my friends and we were playing Halo 3, super into machinima. One of my friends wanted to go all out, and he like I went to Best Buy with him. He ended up convincing his mom to get a Dazzle,
Oh, the
and he
Dazzle.
yeah, and he was recording it, and it was like he was recording directly onto his computer, so he couldn't even use his TV. So he was using the built-in software, and he
Oh
was using
God.
the small preview and playing in real time. And it was laggy, and it was bad, and it was low quality. And then I remember like it was an awful experience overall. He had to get splitters for it. The software was still bad. Literally, the way he fixed it was like a few weeks later at school, we were talking about it. He's like, "Hey, so you remember when I was having all those issues with my Dazzle? I ended up fixing it." I was like, "Wait, really? How?" He's like, "Oh, I downloaded and cracked Sony Vegas, and I could just like capture through there, and I could edit, and
Yeah.
just everything works." I'm like,
Uh,
"Okay,"
the,
and that was the first time I ever heard of Sony Vegas,
yeah.
and he probably heard about it
Basically,
from another YouTuber.
it was very big. As far as I can tell, it was very big in the Call of Duty scene. Like
Oh yes,
the
yeah.
montage scene, that one was huge. Like, and they all use Sony Vegas, as far as I can tell, because I don't know if this is like the reason or an effect of that, but it was compatible with the Boris FX suit, which was the thing that added all of those lens flare stuff that then became a meme in MLG.
Yes,
Okay, so Vegas like Premiere was also compatible with it, but you gotta keep in mind Premiere required, as far as I can tell, more hardware. Like you had to had
Premiere
a
was much heavier.
yeah, you had to
Yeah.
have and kids just have hand down laptops, and Vegas can
Yes.
run on those. Bad.
Mhm.
It takes 10 hours to render, but it works, and that's all that matters for a kid, for a teenager. So, and I know this because, like, I had a decent PC when I was like, I was 10, and I got a Core 2 Duo Centrino, which was amazing at the time. I remember playing everything I wanted. I played Prototype on a computer. It was a laptop. I played Duke Nukem Forever, which I thought was amazing because I was 10. I didn't
I'm sorry.
I so you gotta know that my introduction to Duke Nukem was Manhattan Forever. I didn't ever play 3D up until late because
Okay.
yeah, I played the demo of 3D when I was a kid on Xbox Live, the arcade version on
Yeah,
360.
yeah.
But the first game I played was Manhattan Forever, so I was like, oh, this is cool because I didn't know anything really about about Duke Nukem, I was surprised to be able to play a game at more than 15 frames per second. This was the thing. And
That's fair.
yeah, so I had a good laptop, but my friends, they had all like AMD 8 lon hand downs from their dad's office.
Yep.
And it
Yep.
was
Because
either,
AMD was cheaper.
oh yeah, people that have like, they either have forgot it, or they weren't in the like, they weren't buying processors. I remember when I was 11, 12, I was looking on info on processors. And you do remember like when the i3, i5s, and i7s just came out.
Oh yeah.
And I remember like I remember they were way too expensive for me because I just had kid money. And I was looking at the AMD options, and I remember there were the the AMD Solo processor. We were like single cores, and
Oh
you
god.
could unlock them because they were actually dual cores that were being disabled, and you could re-enable them by basically unlocking the microcode. And they were so much cheaper. Like an AMD CPU was like 30 euros here, compared to an Intel processor, an i3, which was like 120.
Hmm.
And that was the case for years because AMD was basically lagging behind. The only like the biggest selling point for AMD at one point became the APUs. They were the only company making
Yes.
somewhat decent integrated processors, graphic processors, so graphics cards in their CPUs. But aside from that, they were always lagging behind. I mean, Bulldozer was terrible. Ryzen
Yes.
was
Yes.
a game changer because they
Yeah.
suddenly were ahead of Intel, and they were cheaper.
It had a I remember I think the only bad thing about Ryzen was at the beginning because it was just motherboard manufacturers were not ready for it. It
Yes.
had a rough launch at the beginning, but it essentially came down to, hey, wait for a BIOS update, flash that to your motherboard when available, and then after that it was rock solid. So like it had kind of a rocky launch because of the motherboard support, but after that it was flying.
Oh, I also want to ask you, like, do you know that there is like a variant of Ryzen which is only for China, and they were making that I think for government servers. I've seen a video on that.
I've never heard of this. Why
Yes.
is this?
So essentially, there is this variant of AM4, which was done in collaboration with China. And as far as I can tell, this actually led AMD into having troubles with the US government, because yeah, you don't work with a foreign government if you are a company that makes processors. Like that's
Sure.
something that leads to problems. And yeah, I've seen a video on that, and it's still weird because they were identical, but what they did is probably stripping down the obvious vectors every CPU has to have.
Hmm.
I mean, it's not even a secret now, after Snowden, that every processor has some vectors.
Yeah, of
Uh,
course.
so I can see why a government like China, I don't, even though like you might not agree with them, you might not support them, but I can see why they wanted a version without without the spyware from the US.
I get it. I get it.
So yeah, so but it's weird because aside from this, I've never seen like essentially what amounts to an hardware fork of a processor.
I haven't heard of this until now either. So
Okay.
I like legitimate have not heard of it.
So yeah, it's quite rare, and the few I've seen some of them pop up on AliExpress because that's where used old server hardware ends up. Like
Yeah, yeah. I love
Xeon,
AliExpress for that. Yeah.
yes, Xeon processors used to be banger deals. Like I remember I built a PC for a person which had this Xeon E5 processor, and using the microcode trick. I don't know if you follow Tech ESC, the channel.
Mm-mm, I don't.
Basically, so I was into the Xeon scene for a while because I knew that Xeon processors initially, so like socket 771 for server was basically socket 775 for desktop, to the point where they were basically core shoe quads, and by using some tape you could use server processors in client motherboards. Uh,
Using tape?
yes, you had to like invert shoe pins. It was nuts.
Okay.
I was into the scene for a while, and then there was this YouTube channel popped up that made videos about it, and I immediately subscribed. Great channel, and like flash forward to 2019, he makes this video where he showcases how Xeon E5s now, which were essentially i7s, just straight up i7s, very powerful ones. So
Hmm.
they were being blocked to they were like 6 cores, 12 threads, so even better than most i7s. uh, they were being throttled to only have 2 gigahertz per core.
Hmm.
But there was a glitch that basically just put them into turbo mode, so 3 gigahertz indefinitely. And what this meant is that like you could get very fast 6 core, 12 thread inter processors for like 20 euros, which is like $25.
Jeez. Okay.
So
All right.
I managed to make a gaming PC for one of my friends, which had that and had another Chinese another Chinese find was an RX 480
Okay.
that we got. No, sorry, 417 because the 480 was
Was that
already.
also a
Yeah,
AliExpress find?
yes,
All right. All right.
it was 70 euros. So CPU 20 euros, GPU 70 euros, the entire computer, and I mean everything, even the case, the power supply, the SSD, 200 euros for a computer that could run basically every esport title on high and most new games like AAA on low, 60 FPS.
That's pretty awesome.
Yes, and like Xeon processors are amazing, but this is going to die quite soon because I can't see anything but everyone moving to either ARM or similar integrated processors like RISC-V, because
Hmm.
x86 is not going to last, in my opinion. It's just, I mean, we are sticking to it
We're still going to
because
see it for a while, I feel like, but
I think
yeah.
it's gonna be like 20 years tops. Yeah, if not 10,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
like it's already old by today's standards. I mean,
Yeah.
Apple has shown us that RISC is the future with ARM in computers. Like this Mac can pretty much emulate any x86 instruction good enough to just not need an actual processor that does that natively. So I think the
Hmm.
future is gonna lay there. And I think that like I don't know if you've seen the research behind RISC-V.
I
Uh,
haven't, no.
Basically it's a new architecture, new I mean in the standards when compared to x86, but it's been a few years that basically every giant is throwing money at research into this because it's basically an ARM alternative for the modern era. And I
Hmm.
think that's probably what's going to like what we are going to transition to, either that or just straight up ARM like Apple is doing, because it's like we most of the stuff we do today isn't even run locally. Like we basically do everything using web apps. And so
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot more of that, yes.
and like as much as I sometimes don't like that because I don't like having my stuff on servers that I just I don't trust. I just if I can avoid having to send stuff to the internet to do stuff I want to do stuff on my own. Uh, so yeah, but
Sure.
this is not where the world is going. The world is going towards the fact that you're going to have just a hub and everything's gonna be done elsewhere.
Yeah.
And the reason, like, ARM is great for that because I mean, you just get a super high lasting power, power battery. Sorry, it's 445 AM.
All good. All good.
A
I get it.
super long lasting battery because it's very low power. So maybe it can't go head to head with the highest powerful x86 processor right now, but you don't need to because you're not gonna use that if you're the average user or even a power user. Like this Mac is faster to render than my Windows computer because even if ARM sometimes can be slower, what Apple did was they integrated some dedicated cores for encoding. So it's faster because there are those. And yeah, I just think this is where we're going to end up in like 10 years, just having less x86 and more other stuff, which is
Hmm.
interesting because if you think about it, it's almost going backwards because like our ARM is not a new technology. It's
No,
great,
no.
but like we are going back towards the fact that we're gonna have loads of different processors with different instructions, like we were in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, and I wonder how that's going to go. I know even back then as well too. So I was, I guess, out of the computer game at that point.
Yeah,
Like I had an
I wasn't
affinity for
even
the
born yet,
technology.
so
I was born then, but like I wasn't like ripping apart computers or anything that young. But I know even like. I know even at some point I'd heard stories of like there were motherboards that were compatible with both kinds of CPUs. Like you could
oh
literally have the
yeah.
same CPU. You could use AMD or you could use
No, no.
Intel.
Wait. I wanted to even go backwards even further because
Okay.
so something that I noticed is that um so you're I mean you know what an MSX is. It's the
Oh
system
yeah.
like the standard that Microsoft made for computers with like a lot of different companies. And what I noticed is that during that period, like this is something America didn't really see a lot. I mean, you have seen it, but not at the level we Europeans have seen it. Like game consoles here in Europe were only started really picking up after the PlayStation, because before then,
Yeah, yeah,
home
yeah.
computers were the thing, and it's also the reason, in my opinion, why piracy was normalized here. Because with computers, you just copied programs. That's normal.
I
So
I was gonna say so that, but also I know a lot of European countries really didn't have the whole thing for like
oh
respecting
yeah,
copyright until like EU was there and
yes,
they were like joining the EU and then there was legislation.
yeah. So I mean, you've heard my intro, the jingle, the one day I have like the dun 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 dun.
Oh yeah,
That means okay. That comes from a from an it's a remake of the jingle of an advertisement for a bootleg Polish Famicom, because they didn't have the infrastructure for that. So the story is funny. Uh, a jeans salesman in Poland, when the USSR fell down, he went to Taiwan to buy jeans. He discovered Famiclones and he bought one and he became obsessed with playing it. And he was like, "Yeah, I gotta sell this." And he started selling Famicoms in like Famicom clones in Poland,
okay,
like in the 90s when the rest of the world was playing with the PlayStation. And like, yes, there is also that fact because I mean, communism was a thing up until 1989. I mean, it's not that now, but I meant the USSR. That's what I meant.
yeah, yeah,
Uh, but I think it's also like the fact that we were used to computers because um, talking with like my dad, for example, which is he's a boomer. He's basically almost 70, and he was like he didn't like it wasn't realizing the concept of having of buying something where you have to pay for games when he like
sure.
because he used to own an Amstrad computer when I was a kid, when I was a kid, but also when he was a kid. It was like his old computer, and
Hmm.
he got that when he was a teenager, I think. Maybe later. It was an 80s Amstrad, and for that computer, he essentially just got the games from either cassettes or other mediums, and they were either copied or he got them like it didn't buy games. So the idea of
Yeah.
buying stuff in Europe, like buying software, was weird because it was basically all shared, and most of that was because most games were made in BASIC by just garage programmers, which is like companies like Rare were born like that.
Hmm.
Because, for example, there was the entire UK scene where you got teenagers making games like in BASIC on their ZX Spectrum, and like this wasn't a thing in the US as far as I can tell. Like you guys got the big industry from the get go because Nintendo put out the NES and revitalized the entire industry after the Atari flop. But like your video game crash never happened here because we had computers as the main way to play games.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I know I'm sure it had an impact worldwide. I know
Yes.
that, but it wasn't like nearly to the
No,
extent that it was over
like
here.
like you never read about that because we never had an explosion of consoles like you had because people played on computer. We had the MSX. That's why I mentioned it before. Like
Hmm.
that was one of the first standards. But even when standards weren't a thing, people just loaded programs using BASIC, which it has some differences by like depending on platforms. But like it was basically a common high level language, like something that basically you could run on almost every 8-bit computer in the 80s. as far as I
Hmm.
can tell. I might be saying something stupid here because I wasn't even born yet. But what I mean is that I think we are going towards that approach. Like I have my AMD Ryzen computer here and my M1 Mac here, and both can run the same program because this program is running through an high level translation. And yeah, it isn't the best approach, but it's where we're going toward because the hardware is powerful enough to do that.
Hmm.
And I mean, this also leads to stuff like having horrible optimizations like Discord, which is running on Electrum as far as I can tell, and it clogs
Yeah,
up
yeah,
your
yeah. That
memory.
sounds about right.
But it's just a matter of the technology is getting cheap enough that we are not going to have problems related to this because we're going to have headroom even if we don't optimize, hopefully.
Hmm.
Because there is also the other problem where we are basically reaching peak miniaturization, so we can't like shrink transistors further because we are reaching the limit of what we can do, and the only solution to that will be probably quantum computers. And yeah, I don't know anything about those, so I'm not gonna talk.
Yeah, I wouldn't be the expert on that either, but it's fair.
Yeah, no, I just it's a weird period for tech in general. Like it's I can't predict what's gonna come tomorrow because it's just it's the first time ever this happens because I just like so you can remember like 5 years ago, okay, you could think about what AMD or Intel would put out next or what the new console
Sure.
was. Right now everything is so weird. You can't do that anymore. Like it's also the whole if we gotta talk about games, the fact that we're moving from buying games to buying subscriptions like Game Pass.
Yeah, yeah. I don't like. I don't like how well he even just. I mean, getting into the thick of it too. I kind of don't like how everything is a subscription at this point
Yes,
now, and
yes.
things are just being
You
segmented off. So it's
you
not even just like, oh, a Netflix of games. It's like, oh, I want to heat up the seats
yeah,
on my
yeah.
car, which has
It's
been the big the big hot
it's
topic.
the
No pun
old
intended.
meme of you will own nothing and you'll be happy.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just so tired.
It's
Tired of it.
it's weird because like it's weird because so I'm a collector since I was a kid.
Mhm.
So having the physical item in my hands is something I value a lot. But I also see the convenience of like, okay, you pay a low amount of money every month and you get access to every game. The thing is that this I think is a double-edged sword because what you tend to do is you tend to not focus on a single game as you used to, and like I have like my Steam is full of unfinished game for this reason,
Oh yeah.
games because I just tend to buy stuff when it's discounted. So and that was like with the old model of buying stuff. Now imagine with Game Pass where you get like 300 games from the get
Mhm.
go.
Yep.
It's the same thing that I felt when I was a kid and I legally got my DS ROMs. I had like this micro SD full of DS ROMs, DS games, and I
Mhm.
didn't know what to play because I had too many of them. I
That
literally had too many games,
yep.
and
That's what happens when you have like a large library, whether it's
yes,
physical or digital or even both. It's like kind of the or even for me, I guess the game kind of becomes, doing the stuff, collecting the
oh
things or
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
modifying whatever the
absolutely.
hardware or
Like
software is, but
uh,
then you kind of just struggle to pick something.
I got one of those weird, terrible, one of those consoles that just run a weird distro of Linux and a RetroArch. Okay, so
Okay.
I spent, I spent like a day setting it up exactly how I wanted, and then I basically never used it because I don't know. I just I find it more fun sometimes to do that than to actually play games on those consoles. I don't know.
That's valid. I did actually think of this. I know, because you were saying, in regards to like the older computers that we
Yeah.
didn't really have that here. I wonder if you had this over where you're at. So I'm thinking maybe 2003, 2004, maybe let's say 2004, 2005.
Okay.
Over in the US, that is when a lot of places ended up discovering Nintendo on a chip. I'm sure they end up
Yes.
existing I'm sure they existed before this, but they end up getting popular, and it was such a new thing, and it was quite literally over here. You could, and for anybody who's been to like shopping malls in like 2004, 2005 in the U.S., I'm sure any listeners can attest to this. All of a sudden, there were like these like pop up shops and shopping malls, and it wasn't even like storefronts. It was kind of just like little almost like a little like carriage or something
Okay.
where there would be like one or two sellers there, and they had little TVs set up, and they had these little weird looking consoles. I think they also had cartridge slots in them, so you could pop in a Nintendo cartridge, but they were just so novel at the time because you turn it on and it was like, like a 301 game
Okay.
console of some kind,
Yes.
and they were maybe 60, 80, $100, and they were just full of NES ROMs. Of course, I'm sure the emulation wasn't great. I'm sure the sound wasn't the best, but it was such a new concept at the time, and it wasn't like we nobody here's the thing, like nobody thought it was illegal in any way either, because it was like so new, and the assumption back then was, oh, the games are so old and the trademark is gone and the copyright doesn't matter. So it was like overnight all of these consoles just end up literally flooding these malls, and
Wow.
within 6 to 9 months, overnight, all those shops disappeared. Like there was like legal action that was
The
going there
purge.
to like wipe them out. Yeah. I
Wow.
don't know if you all had anything like that happen,
Okay,
like,
so
around that same time.
okay, this is one of the things I know most about. Like my nickname is Fami because my first console was one of these Famiclones. So you get
Okay,
okay. I just had some water, so I'm not dying like I was dying 10 seconds ago.
perfect, perfect.
So we had that in the 90s because, as I was saying, so Poland was one of the countries that got Famiclones because they didn't have Nintendo. Okay, Russia did the same with Dandy. They had TV shows. If you go on archive.org and you search for a Dandy TV show, you can see TV programs from Russia where they are reviewing bootleg NES games. It's great. If
That's awesome.
there is an episode on Somari, which is the Sonic remake that was made by the Hammer team with Mario in it, and it's an
Mhm.
actual review because they sold that in stores there. But in countries like mine, where Nintendo and Sega were a thing, we had Famiclones, and they were sold as a cheap alternative to other consoles. And that was so normal that when I was born, that was my first call. We already had three of them because my dad used to buy them like locally, like you said, at pop-up shops and stuff, but they were basically being sold in supermarkets, like in grocery stores,
Okay.
like normally. And they never disappeared here. Like you see them popping up from time to time. And now that you mentioned this, so you said these ones had cartridge slot, like the ones you've seen.
I believe they had a card slot, yeah, but the big thing was, like, these ones stuck out because it was around that time, that's when they started being preloaded with games, where they'd be
Yes,
like,
yes.
two
Okay.
hundred, 300
So
games.
in America, it was the Power Player series was huge, which was basically it was built like a Nintendo 64 controller with a cartridge lock. So it was an N64 pad with a slot on the top. And I remember this because apparently Nintendo had sued some of them, like sued some importers of this. But the Nest on a chip fad. Okay, I actually tried tracking down the origins. In that video I was saying a few minutes ago, in the uh, $5,000 Famicom cartridge
Yes,
video I
yeah.
made. Okay, so what happened is that the first clones were made in the early 90s, which is interesting because I mean, if you think about like the state of China in the late 80s, that was basically as early as they could make them. They started making them, which is amazing.
Mhm.
And the thing is, they're pretty accurate. The problem they have most of the time is that they invert some sound channels, so you can hear
Yeah.
difference in the music mostly. Like that's the main thing. That, and also the most stupid problem was that a lot of the ROMs that came preloaded were uh, of the wrong region. So you maybe had a PAL Famiclone and they were running NTSC ROMs, so they were too fast, or the
Did they
opposite.
also have, like, 2 or 3 of the same ROM at times?
Oh no, yeah. Okay, so story time. I have this distinct memory, and it's amazing. Basically, they were so desperate to make the games look more than they were, that there were versions of some games that basically were the same game without, like, with the wrong um, scrolling applied to the ROM. So there's this version of Super Mario where it glitches out and it's part of the gameplay because you can't see Mario on half of the screen. It had like a name like Dream Mary because you couldn't see Mario while you were playing, and they were like, "No, this is a feature. It's not a bug. We're selling
Oh
you
my
an
god,
extra
that's
game."
amazing.
And yeah, all those games came. Of course, these multicars were from China, and like we got them both, us in Europe and you years later in the US. Like the ROMs that you got were dumps of ROM that were made in China like 10 years prior, which is amazing. They get constantly modified, and they still get updated to this day. Something I discovered is that, like, um, so I don't know if you know the bootleg games wiki. It's an amazing
I
wiki.
don't actually, amazingly enough, but it
So
sounds
yeah,
fascinating.
it's like it's a rabbit hole. I suggest everyone listening to this, because basically what they do is they collect every single bootleg game they can find, and they try to find who made it, the engine, every single hidden thing in the code. It's amazing. And the thing is, if you go there, you discover that these Famiclones at one point, so this is nuts. The hardware makers were working closely with the people making games for them, okay, because they started making it their own games, like bootleg
Mhm.
Mario's, bootleg. Um, they made a remake of Earthworm Jim, just to give you an idea.
That's awesome. All
Yeah,
right.
and so at one point they were feeling limited, and they started making upgrades to the NES hardware, to the point where I have one, but it's broken. There is this version that it's called VT slash 0X. Basically, they went up with each generation, but the latest one is a NES clone, so a 6502 clone that can display PNGs instead of sprites. That
Okay.
means that it's an NES clone with photorealistic graphics, and it's so weird. Like, I
I've
bought
never
this.
heard of this.
No, I bought, nobody knows this, and it's amazing because, like, I got one of these consoles when I was like 15 at my local supermarket here, because I was like, oh, it's a pad, then it's gonna be an S on a chip. I was curious. I plug it in, I see that this graphics that was too good to be true, and I was like, no, okay, it's not a clone. But I discovered it's actually a clone. They went so ahead. They upgraded the NES. It's just what, like, why aren't you making your own design at that point? Like, you can
That's
just do that.
amazing. But also, I think the answer to that is also why not?
Yeah. No, I like another thing is that, and this is gonna be like, people are gonna probably be interested in this. There is, like, they leaked an emulator made by the developers of this hardware, so you can actually emulate this on your computer.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
I want to try this out.
it's like, the weirdest thing is there is an upscaled version. There are videos by bootleg collectors. There is an upscaled hacked version of Super Mario Brothers with these graphics, and it's so weird
Oh my
because you can
god.
clearly tell it's an 8-bit games like physics engine, but it's applied to graphics that is not that.
It's not supposed to be happening, but it is, and
Yes,
we're just letting it
yes,
happen.
yes. I I suggest you look for it because it's quite interesting. I was writing a video on that like a year ago, but it's currently on hold because it's a very deep rabbit hole. Like, we are talking about companies that made so much money. They had their own, like they had plushies made of their mascots. So this isn't like some
Yo.
basement. They took the NES hardware to their heart, and they ran with it, and they made so much money off it. They upgraded it. Like, it's an entire industry, and like, people don't realize how big this is, because every single, like, you see those non-Android consoles that are full of games, and those games usually aren't licensed. They are like clones of clones of clones, like a clone of Puzzle Bubble or a clone of F1 Race for the NES. Okay,
Sure.
those are NES on a chip, but they are upgraded. Like, they are based on that. That's the technology they run. most of the time, to the point where you can I've seen some people extract the ROMs and they are able to run them on actual NES hardware with some glitch graphics. It's
Sure.
amazing. And if you think about how many 6 to 7, 6, 8-year-old kids get that as a console because they are cheap, you can see why the industry is a thing and why it's big, because the low end of the market always has to have something. And
Of course.
yeah, it's amazing. It's something that is completely ignored, even though it's right in front of our eyes. And the fact that it's an NES clone and people don't know that.
That's amazing. I'll need you to link some of this to me
Yeah,
just so I can look into it more, but I did not
absolutely.
know about that.
Yeah, I for some reason I have never met someone even in my circle of friends that knew that. The reason I know this is because I really went into a rabbit hole with this thing.
Sure.
Because like I was trying to find out around 2 years ago if there was a NES clone processor, so a Famiclone processor that pre-made that didn't have this sound issue, because I was like, okay, I was trying to make. You've seen the projects on GitHub. I gotta drink some water.
Oh, good. Again,
Um,
water's important. Everyone hydrate.
I'm talking a lot. You probably have seen the reverse engineering of the NES motherboard. You can essentially just have a CPU, have
Oh,
a
yeah.
PP.
Yeah,
Okay,
Open right?
yes. So
Yeah.
my idea was, okay, that's compatible with the clone chips because they are pin compatible.
Yes.
If I found a clone CPU that didn't have the sound problem, I could feasibly make myself a cheap alternative to the analog NT. So I didn't even, I don't know how to solve it properly. I was just looking at it because I was like, yeah, it's a cool idea. Maybe I'll learn. And I discovered about there isn't a perfect clone of the chip, but they just made upgrades over the other ones, and they got to the point where we have 32 bits NES clones. And yeah, this is a
Oh my
sentence that
god.
makes sense, and it's nuts. I don't even know how to. And yeah, I I wanted to make a video on them, but finding those is weird. Also, another thing, I don't know if you know the Atari flashback consoles.
Yes. Yeah, I
The,
know, one thing I do know about them that's interesting, I think on, yeah, the Atari ones, I don't know if it's all of them, but I know on some of them, they are kinda open sourced in a way,
okay,
where you can
yes.
quite literally open them up and, like, on the back of it, it shows a pinout where you can solder in a, cartridge connector, and you can quite literally use Atari cartridges on a
Yes,
flashback.
yes, 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 yes. What you might not know is that the first console was actually was actually a Famiclone. It just ported the games over because it was cheaper to buy Famiclone hardware than to make
Oh,
Atari.
seriously? I
Yes,
did not know about that.
it was for that and for the Intellivision too. I think the pads.
Okay.
Uh, Famiclone hardware is so cheap. They made they made educational computers in China around it because it's cheaper to just buy that than any cheap processors, because they were making them in large quantities.
That's amazing, but that also makes
Yes,
sense.
and it's nuts because there's as far as I can tell, so there is the language barrier, which unfortunately stops me because I don't speak Chinese yet. At least I might learn it someday. But there is an entire industry of even non-gaming stuff that runs on NES on a chip hardware, and it's so fascinating because you can see that happening on in the PC world. Okay, like x86 theoretically is just the derivative of the original 8086. Okay, but that's
Mhm.
something a company did with their own hardware. They based the architecture on a successor processor. Makes sense. Here, random people took someone else's product, which was also already a clone. Because I mean, we gotta remember the Ricoh's chip. The Ricoh chip the NES uses is a clone of the 650 chip. So they
Yeah,
took
yeah.
that and they ran with it so much. It's now something else. And I mean, you Ricoh can sue them because the design was cloned.
Sure.
Nintendo can sue them because so I mean, what can you tell them? Good job, I guess. Even I I I I I forgot to ask. I met Federico for Jean, which was the person that No, I mean he worked on the Z80. Sorry,
All
but
right.
I forgot to ask him about like this clone market of processors. Even though I knew, basically, I don't know if you noticed, but the Z80, which was, I mean, it was also cloned for the Game Boy. The Game Boy doesn't have an actual Z80; it has a clone. But Z80 was designed so that it had fake gates, and so that like companies trying to clone it would get frustrated and take more time, which is amazing.
Okay, I've heard of measures like that.
Yes, and like I met him. I met Federico Fagini, which was he's Italian and he's the main engineer behind the project and the founder of the company that made it. And I forgot to ask him about that because the clone market of CPUs, like back in the 80s and 90s, Japan was huge for just making clones. I don't know if you knew that.
I didn't know.
Yeah, basically, there was this fear of like if a CPU got to Japan, you immediately got cheap clones of it. And
Okay.
for a while,
Huh.
it was also like it was also the case with cars, as far as I can tell. Like Japan and Korea had this sort of reputation for just building either like cheap econo boxes or clone cars from the West part of the world. And I
All
mean, that
right.
makes sense because think about the economy of Japan. They had to start somewhere and they started by copying other people.
Mhm.
And I mean, for the tech industry, it was the same. They were just copying our designs and just making them cheaper. And when Japan stopped doing that because they were building their own CPUs, like they were making their own designs. China started doing that, and they got to this point where they were not only copying them but upgrading them, and it's amazing. Like I generally
That
found it
is.
amazing. Uh, Speaking about the Z80, like this processor that Federico Fagin made, so it's the processor that also runs the ZX Spectrum, that one.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know if you noticed, but this is another story that I've seen one video from it on the Retro Man Cave channel. I think that's the name of the channel. I read it pop up one time. Retro Man Cave. Yes, RMC the cave.
Hmm.
So he made this video where he was showcasing a Soviet clone of the Z80, which is something that seems wild, but then you realize so there was an embargo, and apparently, as far as I've read, they were teaching students in universities how to reverse engineer Western processors to remake them.
Wait, are you serious?
Yes,
Oh my
and it's
god.
amazing. Like they couldn't buy them, so they just they
So
had
yeah,
them.
just have some students do it.
Yes, and the thing is, the so Soviet computers up to like the early 2000s, most of them were Z80s to the point where there is a Warcraft port for the Z80. Like you
That's
can play
amazing.
a port of Warcraft on a ZX Spectrum. It's wild, and but like the entire government backed reverse engineering thing is what like shocked me because I was like, oh, they were teaching people how to steal how to steal someone's engineering. It's
And
amazing.
just making class out of it.
Yes,
Like quite
yes,
literally.
yes. It's like it's interesting because as far as I can tell, a lot of the research that went into that actually was useful then for like when the USSR stopped being a thing. Lots of those engineers ended up working in America and they ended up working on actual processors. So it was useful
Good for
to
them,
make stuff.
actually. Good for them.
Yeah, like but it's interesting that like this was a thing at all because reverse engineering, okay, it's always been a thing. Okay, trying to copy the product your opponent is making. That's part of the design of a new product. No, you try to study the competition, try to understand why it works. But
Mhm.
something that's like something on this scale where okay, we can't buy processors from the West. We're gonna copy them and make our own. It's amazing. They also did the same with like musical keyboards. Like there are a
Okay.
lot
Yeah,
of
yeah.
clones of Casio key. I like I used to post pictures of them on my Twitter because they are funny. There are these keyboards we are like you can take a look at a keyboard at an old Casio keyboard
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
immediately tell it's a Casio keyboard. And there are these pictures like clones that are identical, and they have this completely, like, for me that I'm not Russian, completely unreadable text on them, like with a random brand, and they are just straight up secret clones of KSU1s, and I love them.
That's kind of amazing.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
apparently they also did the same with some cameras. The clone industry in Russia was just, it's generally one of the most
So they
interesting
kind of just
things.
cloned everything.
Yes, because they couldn't buy it, so they were just that, like, they
And that
smuggled
makes
something,
sense.
they disassembled it, they understand how it worked, and they remade it from scratch. And it's amazing because, like, you can get how difficult that was, especially in the 70s and already. It's just reverse engineering something we are like a computer or a schematic.
Hmm.
It's wild. Like, you had these people trying to figure out this stuff out of nowhere. I mean, there were some leaks, of course, of like schematics,
Of
but
course. Yeah, yeah.
for the most part, it was just work they were doing on their own, and it's amazing. It's just something like I gotta admire the grinder because they have to do this, or they couldn't have any decent hardware.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I talked a lot. Like, I know if this
Oh,
is the norm for your podcast, like having
oh,
no,
no worries. I'm just kind of letting you go here. Although
yeah,
I do know, I know it's late for you. It's late for me too.
oh,
I kind of want to get to the last things I typically kind of exit on here, if you
no
don't mind.
problem. No,
Yeah,
I just
it's been a
want
blast
to.
talking about all the clones and
Thank you.
everything.
No, I just go and talk for a lot of time. If if I stumble upon words, right, it's because I'm sleep deprived, and you can tell. But even though I'm sleep deprived, I always have something to talk about, so that's good.
No, that's fair. That's fair. We need people like that sometimes.
Yeah, I am
Yeah.
quite energetic. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, nothing wrong with that. Uh I guess with all the gaming stuff though, I do typically ask this, but what games have you been currently playing?
So recently, I've been gifted Yakuza Zero because I've never played the Yakuza saga.
Same here. Okay.
Okay, that's nice. So I'm gonna play that on my Steam Deck. I
Oh,
downloaded
the
it
Steam
like
Deck's so
before.
nice.
Yes, and also Forza Horizon 5. I downloaded it again because I want to play just a car game with friends. Sometimes it's nice to have like a multiplayer car game to just do random stuff in. And
Sure.
Forza is a nice playground for that. It's not a real simulator; it's an arcade game, and I like it for that reason. And
The
also,
Horizon games specifically,
yes,
yeah.
the Horizon ones. Motorsport is great, but it's a simulator. It's
Of
trying to
course.
do that. I mean, it's a Gran Turismo rival. That's put it plain and simple. It's just that.
Hmm.
And I'm very hyped for the actual new Forza Motorsport. But I know it's gonna get less attention than Horizon because Horizon is
Oh, no
what
doubt.
most people look for. It's just a power fantasy for everyone, so people
Yeah.
look for that. Um,
I always admired Forza Motorsport, but of course I'm not like the car sim person. And then like when Forza Horizon released, I'm like, oh my god, this game is amazing, and
yeah,
I'm actually
yeah,
happy to see the success of it. Like it's just
yeah.
been truly successful. I always thought it was going to be like a one off thing, and then when the second one came out, I'm like, oh okay, they're doing a second one, cool. And now it's just like a common stay, and I'm all for it.
Yeah, the only issue I have with it now is that I like the formula they had in the first games where you were a nobody and you had to rank up.
Mhm.
And right now is, oh, you're a legend from the get-go, and everyone is telling you that you're amazing. I don't like that. I like the
Oh,
formula
okay.
where you get to scale up. Uh, then again, most of the games, like, if you think about it, most of the car games starting since '98 just straight up copied the Gran Turismo formula and built on that. Because before
Oh
Gran
yeah.
Turismo, there was no car RPG in that sense. Like, every game was basically, think about Need for Speed, the first one. You get cars and you drive them. There
Yeah,
is no,
that's
like,
it.
yeah. Gran Turismo had this thing which I love, where you had to buy a shitty Econobox and tune it and get a license because you suck and you gotta learn how to drive and then you can drive. I love that kind of stuff because, like, it mixes the gameplay up. I am not an RPG person personally. Like, I played so few Japanese RPGs. People most of my friends played, for example, the Final
Yeah.
Fantasy games. I've never played those because I don't have the patience to grind, like to stay there and just kill the same enemy over and over again, which is also my problem with Pokemon. I've played I played some Pokemon titles, but like, I'm not really into it for that reason. Uh, Gran Turismo is the exception because it made it quite fun. The license part, for example, it's a grind. You're playing the same level over and over again, but the way it does it, like the way it's all categorized in the medals, the gold, the bronze and silver, um, is it's way more like it's something you can digest way more than doing the same thing over and over again for no reason
Sure.
other than just ranking and trying to having more exp and therefore leveling up. On Gran Turismo, like you're racing against yourself, and that's very addicting. And if you think about it, so I'm going to mention this. The other game I'm playing now is the new Trackmania, the latest
Okay.
one, the
Haven't played
2020.
it, but
Yes. So they made this new. I mean, it's 3 years old now, but uh, so the Trackmania games took this idea and took it to the next level, because if you think about it, every Trackmania circuit is just a license test of Gran Turismo, but like
mhm.
scaled up, because you have the three levels you have to reach, like gold, medal, silver, and bronze. But it's an entire circuit, and they have to reach the time to beat that. And the gameplay works. It works so well. It's now like the game has been running for like this saga has been running for basically almost 20 years now, and it's not huge in the US, but in Europe it's way bigger than you think. Like France has as nation sponsored Trackmania tournaments, to the point where Macron, the president, went there to see people play. There are photos of the French president playing Trackmania. It's amazing.
That's amazing,
Yeah, so
actually.
I'm a big fan of Trackmania, and but I think the Trackmania I played most is the one I also talked about in my channel. Even though that video is old, it kind of sucks. It's Trackmania Wii. Trackmania Wii is even like it's a spin-off. It's not even
Mhm.
made by Nadio themselves, but by a company they contracted to do the work, and it it works alright. What it has though is this soundtrack which has no business being that good, to the point where it has like French house remixes which are clearly Daft Punk inspired of like random disco songs, and like if anyone here is listening and they want to check that, you can go on YouTube and search for Trackmania Wii Coast One. You search for that and you listen to this song, which is like it sounds like a Daft Punk song, like
All right.
remade by memory, or more precisely, it sounds like wait, like music sounds better with you, which isn't made by Daft Punk, but it's made by Thomas Mangalter of Daft Punk and other people, and
Mhm.
like the soundtrack for that game is amazing, and the entire game is amazing too. What I want to say with this is that Gran Turismo essentially, let's going back, laid the foundation for this entire, like for the entire car genre, racing genre now. Because if you think about it, like the Need for Speed games, starting with I think Hot Pursuit, also started doing that, like where you had to rank up, and it
Yeah.
really became a thing with like the starting with Underground. Underground basically took that concept and said, okay, this but tuning, and it worked great.
Mhm.
Even though like seeing those games now can be weird if you don't remember how big tuning was back in the 2000s. Like tuning was
Yes. Yeah, it
everywhere.
was a big thing, yes.
Like I especially I know that in the US was even bigger than here, but like I had my cousin uh own this terrible hatchback with with green neons under it. Like we're talking like
Okay.
and
Alright.
he it wasn't even like he was just a random person, but tuning was so common that people just did that to really weird and terrible cars. So yeah, because like when the Fast and Furious came out, the first one,
Y yeah,
uh
yeah.
like people went nuts for that, because they weren't even thinking that that was a thing you could do to cars. So having that in a game, it was a winning formula, and Underground 2 just iterated on that. And but yeah, it all comes down to the car RPG formula, because if you buy even Forza Horizon, I mean, yeah, they are trying to flip this with the later games now, with you being a legend and the random wheel that gives you random stuff, but it's still a grind to the top. and that happened
Mhm.
because of Gran Turismo. Like I don't think there were any games with that structure before that. What I liked about the like Gran Turismo 2 and 4 was the used car section too, because you found like the weirdest cars there. It was an excuse for the developers to put like cars that weren't in production anymore. So like you found the weirdest, boxiest Japanese cars there, and that's something you don't see in these new games where they only give you the fastest power fantasy cars, and it's sad.
Mhm.
Okay, I this tangent exploded. I'm sorry.
Oh, good. Oh, good. I'm just going. Yo, I'm gonna be honest. I'm tired. I need to take my dog out too. So that's why I'm like also like winding down. I've
Yeah.
also noticed, even just like as like a meta podcast thing, like when it goes over 2 hours, I'm like, oh, I'm tired.
No, yeah, it's no, I get that. Also, I mean, I should be the one that's I am tired. I am in slow mode right now, but even then I I just go off. But I mean, that's one of the good, like the things I like about stuff like this, just recording and having something that like I work on essays, so I have all the time to refine stuff. Here it's just raw material, and it's more
Yeah,
authentic. Like
of course.
yeah, it's just yeah, I like this kind of stuff. So people just heard me talk for 2 hours, and it's 5:27 a.m. here. I am basically running on 5 hours of sleep, and it's
I'm
amazing.
sorry, but we've gotten it. We got it scheduled. We were able to work it out.
No, yeah, don't worry. Like
Yeah,
I'm fine. I'm 25. If I don't do this today, when do I have to do it? Like,
perfect.
yeah, I gotta take this chance. I'm saying
No,
this like after I hit 26, I'm gonna sleep at 8 p.m. That's clearly not happening. But like,
Honestly, I'll say as you get to like older like I'm 29 for
yes,
example. I will say in the last year I've hurt more than I ever have. I think part of it is age, but also a part of it I think is pretty valid is I had a ton. I'm better now, thankfully, but the last year I had a ton of stress, and I
oh
have
wow,
no doubt that that had a physical impact on me.
oh yeah, that like stress destroys you. Like it's
Oh
generally
yeah.
it's something that kills you.
Yes, yeah, so I don't recommend that.
Yeah, I know. This week has been kind of weird. I haven't been sleeping a lot because what happened is that so I'm working on that video that that you are in,
Yes,
and
yeah.
what happens is that I
To be
ended up
clear to everyone, I have a very, very, very small role. I'm in there for like 30 seconds.
yes, yes, yes. But I mean, your part is I'm not gonna say it, but it's very important. Even though it's
Well,
small,
thank you.
it's
All
something
right.
important.
All right.
It's something that ties together everything. Which it's basically saying everything and nothing at the same time. And it's perfect. So
Perfect.
no, what I was saying is what happened is that I started working. I kept working after I had dinner. Okay, on videos, just editing,
Mhm.
and I noticed like some stuff I could fix, something I could make better, and it went on. A lot of days I just stayed up until 3 a.m. I was like, fuck, I should sleep. I went to sleep, and then I woke up like at 8 a.m. regardless with 5 hours of sleep. And I was like, okay, fine, I'm gonna keep running. So right now it's been like a week that I haven't slept more than 5 hours. Which is
Oh,
something that you
jeez.
shouldn't do. And
No, no. Yeah,
uh,
sleep is important.
yes, I want to resume sleeping normally. But I mean, sometimes you don't choose you don't choose that. Just it just happens. But yeah, I'm looking forward to having normal sleep again. But I guess that like it's weird because I really love what I'm doing. That's why I'm not sleeping. I just
Yeah, well, that's like you'll go into workaholic mode when you do
yes,
something you
yes,
love.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. You get so hyper focused that you almost forget to eat, sleep, and everything. It's
Yep.
wild. It's
That has
generally wild.
happened. I was uh I was gonna jump in real quick with my games I've been playing here
Oh yes, sure.
recently.
I'm very
I
curious.
Oh, yes. I last night I just this is the second time I finished it. I just finished My Friend Pedro, which if you haven't played that game, it's literally bananas.
Oh no, what is it about?
It is kind of a 2.5D shooter where the shooting mechanics are absolutely excellent. It's a short
Oh,
game. You can finish it in like 2 hours. You are a masked, mysterious person who wakes up with amnesia, and there is a floating talking banana talking to you.
Oh wow. Okay, that
The
that's an interesting concept.
It's amazing. It's hilarious. It's just the gunplay is fantastic. I think anybody who is into anything of the sort with that would like it. The only person I've ever run into who didn't really like it was my friend's wife because she doesn't like bloody, gory, violent
Oh yeah,
stuff.
okay.
So she was all into it until she saw the gameplay. She's like, "Oh nope, I don't want this." It's like, "Oh okay, well I know how you are, so I get it."
No, I mean
Uh,
that's understandable. Like some people are like that, and I can get
yeah,
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I respect that,
yeah.
yeah. I know her and her husband have been, playing some co-op games, and, for example, they didn't play A Way Out because, that's very dark and gritty for her, but they've been playing It Takes Two, and they've been struggling through it because she doesn't really play games, but they got through, like, the first level last time I checked.
Okay, nice. That's not, like it's amazing that she was able to do that. So,
Yes, because
uh,
especially because I told my friend, I said, "It Takes Two is harder."
okay, yeah, I can get that. And are you playing anything else or just that?
Let's see. So I finished that. I guess on the side, I'm still. I'd
I'm dying.
finished. Oh, all good,
No,
all good.
no, it's just I talked for 2 hours 25 without like I just drank like a small glass of water. That's everything that, that I got here.
That is what happens, and then it's just like at the end, it's like, oh
Yeah,
god, my throat
you
hurts.
got like oh no, it's
Yeah,
terrible. But that plus my
yeah,
sleep deprivation is doing things to me.
yeah.
I'm gonna I'm reaching new heights. No,
I totally get that.
what were
It's literally sending you. But,
yes.
no, I recently finished, for the first time here, I finished, Shredder's Revenge from, that new TMNT game.
Oh yeah.
Friend and I finished it in co-op, that was fun, so haven't finished this one yet. I've actually never finished this game, but this will be, like, my 3rd time starting this now. We've decided to start co-oping Saints Row the 3rd,
Oh
so
yeah, yeah. Okay,
yes,
yes,
it's funny when you were saying, like, you're on top and everything in, Forza Horizon 5, that's literally
yes,
how Saints Row the 3rd is, which I love, where it's like, the first one, you are just, like, literally a lowly gang member, and then the
yeah.
3rd one, it's like, "Oh, you are, like, on top of the world, literally."
Yes, it's like the third is I think it's the best sensor I've played so far, honestly.
That's what everyone says,
Yeah.
and I totally see that. I know a lot of people who didn't like the 4th one, and that's the only one I finished. The 4th one is not bad, but compared to the 3rd, I can see why people dislike it because the 4th one was a lot more limiting.
The third one is funny because it doesn't take itself seriously, but
Oh,
it
not
does
at all.
so in a way that isn't like overly weird. It knows where to stop being serious and it knows where to stop being funny. That makes sense. Which
Mhm.
is something that's very difficult to nail. I think the only other games that do that successfully are the GTA ones, where like the parody of everything is usually great. Uh,
Yes.
like
Yeah.
I I love like one thing I love about GTA games is the small lore building or like radios or ads everywhere because those
Yep.
like that kind of stuff is done so good usually. Like the radio parodies are great. I love
I
them.
I will tell you this. I did one thing I liked. One thing I disliked, starting with Grand Theft Auto 4, is when they started integrating in the in-game internet and like network based world and such.
Yes.
I disliked that because I like how I don't think it was in San Andreas, but in 3 and Vice City, like quite literally in Grand Theft Auto 3, petsovernight.com. It is a real fake website. You can actually like in real
Yes.
life go to
Yes.
petsovernight.com and it is a fake website set up for it. And in Grand Theft Auto 4 and 5, that's no longer a thing anymore because you go to the internet in game and you go to those websites, which I understand, but I'm like, no, I really like the novel concept of
Yeah.
I can literally pull,
You
like in
can.
2002, I could go to my computer and go to petsovernight.com and the website is there.
Yeah, that was amazing. Like that kind of stuff has been done. I love that loads of games did that. Like this sort of ARGs back then, yeah,
Yes.
before they were even
Oh,
called that.
no! I just checked on this. I went to it, petsovernight.com. It redirects to just the Grand Theft Auto 3 Buy Now page. The website's gone. They just
Terrible,
redirect now.
terrible. That's very sad. I mean, it's
No!
better than having it not being renewed and like and ending up a Chinese gambling website that happens
That's
sometimes.
That's true, but that's so upsetting.
I know.
Yeah.
Another like if you like so one thing that really I remember about GTA Vice City is, do you remember you could like upload your own picture as the photo of the like of the face of the anniversary for some reason? Like it was an
Uh,
actual option.
no, I don't remember that at all. Actually, I remember like the different skins that you could do with the
Yeah,
skin
yeah.
modding, but I don't remember the photo
No, no.
upload.
You could just put your your so you could copy the skin, put someone's face, and load that. It was part of the
Oh,
gameplay,
okay.
and it was like,
Okay, okay.
and I remember that being a big thing when I was a kid.
I I did the for Grand Theft Auto 3, I did the most immature thing because I was like a small kid, and I guess I was like I don't know, like 10, 11, whatever it was
Yeah.
at the time. Like I found out you could do that, and it was just an image file, and it's like I just like kind of like airbrushed brown on there and paint because I'm like, oh lol, he pooped himself, and it's like the most like 11-year-old
Yeah.
thing I did.
I know this Vice City thing. Basically, I remember distinctly that one of my friends did it as a prank to another friend. He just invited him. The guy started playing, and then Tommy just flips because like he has to steal a car. So you see him from the front, and it was my friend's face. He was like, "What the fuck?"
That's amazing.
Yeah. It,
I know that's possible. I've never known anyone to go to that extent though, and I respect it.
no, yeah. Like I've seen a lot of very complicated pranks pulled off like that, and I genuinely admire when something like that works because the payoff is so good that people don't expect that. It's just mind-boggling when that happens because you don't know, like even if you know what's gonna happen, you don't know how the person is gonna react to something
Yeah,
like that intricate. It's generally amazing.
you
Um,
gotta love it.
Also, what I wanted to ask you is, I'm
Oh,
very
sure.
curious about this. So
Okay.
you're just slightly older than me. Do you distinctly remember when, like Steam started becoming a thing or not? Because in 2004, I
Oh.
was too offline for that.
Okay, so I remember 2004. I remember hearing chatter about it because I believe it was tied to Half-Life 2 and a
Yes.
lot of people hated it
Yeah.
because at the time that
Yeah.
was when you go to a store, you buy a game on CD or DVD, you have a CD or DVD key attached to it.
Okay.
You don't have this extra DRM on there. But I'm really trying to think. I remember there was that. I remember so I really wasn't into PC gaming at that time. Um, I think the second time I heard about anything related to Steam, it was one of my friends in maybe 2008, 2009 was telling me about Gmod
Oh
and
yeah, yeah.
was describing it to me, and he didn't even use the terminology properly. But he was like, "Yeah, like I had an account and I bought it on there, and then like I lost access to that account, so unfortunately I couldn't play the game. So I had to like make a new account and I had to buy it again, but it was so worth it."
Gmail
I
is
also
great.
worked I also worked at a game shop at that point, and
Oh
I
wow.
distinctly remember because that was 2008. That's when Left 4 Dead came out.
Yes.
We stopped because we would resell PC games, but we specifically had to stop reselling Valve games because the Valve games, it was a change there. They didn't have a CD key; it was a Steam activation
Yes.
code. So we quite literally we found out because we got finessed by it. We quite literally had a person who sold us a used copy of Left 4 Dead, and then we resold it, and the person had to bring it back, and they're like, "Hey, I can't use this key to install the game because I have to register it."
Yeah,
Um,
it's a single time key,
yeah,
unlike like everything that came before it.
yeah, but I would say like the first time when I started seeing like it really get big was 2010, 2011 because that's when modern PC gaming as we know it got to be a
Yes.
lot more accessible, easier to wrap our heads around. Like 2010, 2011, and also that was when the Steam sale started happening.
So
So I think like
yeah.
2011 was like the second Steam sale that had
Yes,
happened.
yes, yes, yes. I got lots of stuff for that one.
Yeah.
So I distinctly remember a few things. So I was asking to you because I remember the year. I remember 2004. I was 6, so I was very
Okay.
young. But one thing I remember is that I had a PC which couldn't run Half-Life 2, but uh, we used to buy, like my dad used to buy game magazines because he was into gaming, and my sister too was into gaming, so we used to get demos of those. And I remember
Of course.
installing the I think it was the some sort of Source SDK demo. Like it wasn't even a real game, but I was so desperate. I was trying to run this sort of multiplayer environment for
Yeah,
developers, just to have a gun in my hand and run around.
that's amazing.
And like I remember trying to do that, and like getting to a point where I was almost there, but my computer, like we had a Pentium 3 with a
Mhm.
600 megabytes processor. uh, like 7 megabyte 600. Yeah, I am fucking up because it's 5:30 a.m. 600
Yes, yeah.
megahertz Pentium 3. Okay, I'm sorry, I should sleep. And it had like, I think, 256 megabytes of RAM and a 30 gigabytes hard drive. 30 gig, like we had to
Really
format this
balling.
computer
Yeah.
once a week. I'm not exaggerating. I knew, like, I still have the muscle memory since I was 6 or 7 of the Windows XP install, like the
Why did
blue
it have to
screen
be
you see.
formatted so often? Was it the hard drive
Because
was going bad or what?
so basically, yeah, the hard drive was going bad. My sister and I kept downloading stupid stuff, and
Okay,
we were
okay,
too lazy to just delete it, and we just formatted it. And
okay.
that was I mean, the early 2000s were also a period where you just got viruses by doing nothing at times. So we got
Yeah.
basically every dialer, malware, or stuff you could get there. I remember getting one of, like, the scariest malware I've seen was one that changed my desktop image to like this sort of stress warning sign saying
Mhm.
I had to download their antivirus and just lock me out of everywhere. So
Mhm.
I've seen them all, but the reason I'm talking about is that, like, there was no way Half-Life 2 was gonna run there, but I was trying in every possible way, and like I was so desperate that then when I actually got a new PC years later, that Centrino laptop I was talking about before, one of the first games I played there was Half-Life 2, which
Mhm.
wasn't, let's say I didn't get that in a legit way. But then
All good.
I discovered about Portal. Okay, Portal is one of my favorite games ever. Like, I love Portal. It's generally Portal
Mhm.
essentially changed my view on gaming. That's how much I like it. But the funny thing is, the only reason I know Portal exists is because I made a Steam account at the time. It isn't the one I have right now,
Sure.
but because I made it so that I could just redeem every single free key I could find because I had no credit card.
Of course,
Uh,
yeah.
so I played this game called Portal: The First Light, which is a tech demo they were giving out only on Steam to people who had an NVIDIA graphics card.
Mhm.
It was basically it was just the first levels of Portal. So I played that, I loved it, and I was like, okay, I gotta get the full game. Uh, one day later, my connection dies for like a week because my mom changed the provider for internet. So
Yeah.
I was desperate enough that I somehow managed to get the WEP key for like a Wi-Fi network somewhere, and but it was so slow, so I downloaded uh, a non-legit version of Portal that had had all of the audio ripped out, the quotes from GLaDOS.
Oh,
So
just so it was like it was a rip just to like conserve on storage.
it was like 160 megabyte rip. So I play the game, I love it, but I don't know about GLaDOS since it wasn't in the game. So when I replay like it, when I have a proper connection, I'm like, oh, so yeah, she's going mad. Wow, because I didn't know that. I just didn't know.
That's amazing. I need to. I'm gonna share this with you real quick because I want to get your reaction to it here.
Okay.
So, back in 2018, I had gone to Seattle. I went to Valve because I emailed them like weeks ahead to see if I could just like get a tour because they do that, and they
Yes.
scheduled one for me near the end of my trip. So when you're there, they don't have
Oh
any
wow,
merch that you can buy there, unfortunately. But so I just sent Fami a photo of me hugging a giant companion cube plushie.
it's great.
So I do own one of those because it was too awesome to not purchase. However, I had taken like I was messing around like I saw it and it's like super soft and I like got a picture of me hugging it. After I did that, the receptionist told me that that was the same. They've had it here for a while, but they said that the voice actress for GLaDOS had come at one point, and she did the exact same thing with that
Oh,
same plushie.
Ellen McLean. Yeah, I love that. I love her.
Yes, but we both hugged the same plushie.
It's awesome. It's it's a great start. I'm very happy for you. I like I don't know if you know that, but she's actually married with the TF2 Sniper voice actor, which is
I
also
did not know that. That's
and
cool.
it's also the same voice actor that dubbed a lot of video games, including he dubbed a supporting character, several NPCs in Half-Life 2, a supporting character in No One Lives Forever, which is an
Okay.
FPS from the early 2000s that I
Oh yeah,
suggest. Like, I don't know if you have played that, but great game.
I think I like physically have it, but I haven't played it.
I was replaying, like, I was just replaying it, I think 2 months ago, and I wanted to see if it was as good as I remember, and it was. The thing is that, like,
That's awesome.
it has some very interesting, like, it's a spy game
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
set in the 60s, and it's full of like spy tech that you can use, which is amazing. Like,
Mhm.
it's something that even for now is very cool to try because
I know we've been like waiting to get it officially re-released. It's just kind of
yes,
been stuck for a
yes,
while.
no, it's probably gonna be stuck forever to the point where fans have made a like it's basically abandonware, and there is a website that
Yeah.
is hosting every single thing, including every upscale AI texture and engine fix and everything, because they basically say, look, they're not going to release it again, so just download it and fix it yourself because it's the
Hmm.
best we're gonna get. And they haven't had any takedowns, so
Mm.
uh, I think that's gonna be the case. The problem is that, like, it's one of those situations where the company that made the game got bought by another company, which also got bought by another company, and it's basically like you end up not even knowing the owners of the IP anymore, because like a
Yep.
company gets bought by another one, they're not, yeah, so
Yep.
they don't know who the trademark belongs to, as far as I can tell. So like, and
Jeebus.
nobody is looking into this, so they just said, okay,
Fair.
we're gonna just try and so you can download. I don't even know if that counts as piracy because nobody
It's
is
still
enforcing.
piracy technically, but yeah, like the actual like copyright owners haven't done any takedowns
Yeah,
on it, I guess.
because I like that really depends. Like like here, it's piracy.
Hmm.
But according to what I heard, it depends on the nation. Like, some nations
Of course.
consider copyright not valid when it's not enforced, as far as I can tell.
Hmm.
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
It's also a concept that I think should be explored more, because we are reaching the point where there is, like, even with patents, there are patents which aren't enforced or used, and like you still can't do anything about that, even though, like, there are some potential, like, even medical grade patents that are blocked for the reason, even though nobody's using them, and like there
Hmm.
isn't even any company behind it or person. It's just blocked, and it's weird. Like, why are we doing this?
J- That's how it goes
Yeah.
sometimes.
Also remembering, like, Disney, which is constantly making the Mickey Mouse,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
the
Yeah,
Mickey
where they
Mouse
just keep like
character last longer.
extending the copyright on there,
Yeah,
or
it's
is it the trademark? No, I think it's a trademark. I
yeah,
think
they basically,
one of the
as
two.
far as I can tell, they are lobbying the they're lobbying the Senate constantly, and they constantly just make the copyright law last
Yep.
longer, which
Yep.
is it's ridiculous. But I guess they're trying to protect their IP. Then again, I heard that, like, Winnie the Pooh expired, so you can just do whatever you want with it now.
Winnie the Pooh did expire. Yes.
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 And like, when Mickey Mouse is gonna expire, it's gonna be funny. You're gonna see loads of stuff.
It's gonna be entertaining when that
Yes.
happens. Yeah.
Like, considering how hated Disney is too, like, people are gonna go wild with it.
Absolutely. I do have a last thing that I ask my guests on here
Sure.
as we're wrapping up. I guess a couple things here. One of them is, again, thank you for coming on.
Oh,
This has
so
been
thank you
fun.
for having me on Sleep
Oh,
Deprived like this.
of course, it's been fun. Well, this is like the only time that really worked, so we managed to get it sorted.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, I guess if people want to see what you do, interact with you, any of that other stuff, where can people find you online?
You can just search for f4mi, Femi, or go to femi.com, which links you to my channel. It's just a redirect URL.
Perfect.
And
I'll
also, or you can type billgates.sexy. That's also a redirect.
oh my god, you did you see that's amazing. Okay.
Yeah. No, yeah, I buy domains from time to time. I own too many of them, and most of them are very stupid. I just like sniping stupid domains. I
I
own
understand.
daftpunk.mom because like it's exactly like .com until you realize it's not.
Yeah,
And I love that one. I also there are some ones that I don't want to publicly disclose because I want to keep them a surprise. But
that's
I'm gonna
fair.
tell you, yeah, I just I like looking because sometimes they're very cheap. Like you can find cool domains for €5 and people don't realize how cool they are until you actually do something cool with them. And I sniped some insane domains for like €5.
That's amazing.
So
I can
yeah,
respect that.
what I do on the channel is so you can find loads of tech videos and game videos, but also completely different stuff. I talk about whatever is interesting to me in a some like in an essay like manner. My old videos were a bit all over the place, but that's what I pretty much do right now. But I also don't really have a set format, so you're gonna see lots of different stuff. That's just the kind of stuff. Like I am not a very static person, and you can probably see that by these 2 hours and 43 of 45 of podcast where like we talked about every like,
Pretty
just
much everything.
yes, we just
Yeah.
went everywhere. So if you like just that sort of vibe, but in a less chaotic and less sleep deprived way, that's what I do.
Perfect. So to right before we get out of here, this is again another thing I always extend out to my guest, but for anybody who has made it to the very end here, thank you very much for hanging out. But I do like to pick a keyword or a key phrase that people can use if they comment, and if they leave a comment on the YouTube upload, we'll know that they've made it to the end. So, Fami, what keyword or key phrase should
uh
someone use?
let's say green flamingo.
Green flamingo?
Yes,
Okay, that's a
that's
unique one.
quite specific, so we know.
It is. It is, yeah, but it works out. All right, so if you use the phrase green flamingo, then we'll know that you've made it to the end of this episode.
Yes, it sounds like the keyword in one of those like old spy movies where they have like to activate sleeping agents.
Yeah, yeah,
I love it.
use this. Perfect.
Just please, if you comment this, don't turn into murderers. We are not advocating for that. Just
Yes,
but
we should wrap it up here.
no, I'm my sleep deprivation is turning me into this.
It happens.
Yeah, it have. No, jokes aside, thanks for having me here.
Of course. Yeah, no, it's been fun. So,
I'm very happy to like I followed your stuff since years. Uh, because I mean, when you're in the modding scene, you're bound to find your stuff because it's what pops up.
it is so weird how that happens, but yes, and I'm not saying that sarcastically. I'm just like I did not expect that to happen. I'm sorry.
Yeah, like I distinctly remember when that started happening because like I used to follow forum guides for forever, and then I
Mhm.
started looking on YouTube because up until a point, YouTube guides used to suck. If you remember,
Yes, yes, that is true.
so I just didn't do it. Then I noticed that like you had some videos, and I was like, okay, this guy knows how to edit and explain stuff. She's not pointing a camera towards a toaster. So
Hey,
yeah,
that was those are my early videos, all right? I got it out the way. Yeah. Hey, I didn't know what OBS was, and
yeah.
Cam Studio was the only thing we had.
Oh,
So, yeah.
I mean, a part of me still like sees OBS as recent because I was used
Yeah.
to XSplit for live
I'll
streaming.
I'll be honest. There's times I will go back to not my videos, but I'll look at like old videos from that era just for the nostalgic like standpoints of it, where it's like you have like a copyrighted music like song like playing in the background.
Yes.
It's not even like integrated into the video. It's like literally you can hear it playing on someone's stereo in another room, and this person is just like typing on their computer and they're pointing their camera at the screen. Like I love going back to old
No, yeah,
videos
I
like
love
that.
that kind of
So
stuff. There is this
yeah,
Twitter profile which just posts all YouTube videos like that, but I don't like. I've seen it pop up, but then I don't know the name. It's just like a
I love
YouTube
it.
archive was people doing random stuff, and it's interesting because it's a time capsule. A time capsule which we didn't get. Like right now, we are used to having videos from like 2 years ago. You can just search for them. But if you
Yeah,
think about it, digital video from like 2004, 5 in decent quality is quite difficult to have.
that's true.
And
Yeah.
like when you find it, you're seeing just how different stuff was. Even just, I mean, it's 19 years ago, but
Mhm.
still, it's different than seeing stuff from the 80s where the technology was so different. 2004 is weird because you have computers, you had um, essentially proto smartphones with Symbians and BlackBerry, but everything was basically in a beta version. Like you see people living in what's an early version of our present, essentially. Like they did the same stuff in a early way, if that makes sense, tech wise, and it's
No, it makes
amazing.
sense. Yeah.
That's why I really love like 2000s technology because it's quite similar to what we have today, just very primitive.
And half of it was see-through.
Yeah, yeah, I love see-through stuff.
Cool.
I'm
And
actually thinking about like buying. I don't know if you've seen the Steam Deck back cover that's completely
I've
translucent.
seen that. Yep.
Yes,
Yep.
I love it.
I love those. I would recommend getting that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've been
Eh,
talking for a while. I
yes.
think I guess I mean I started making jokes about keywords and spy movies and secret agents murdering. That's
It's all good. We have the keyword out, so
murders. Yeah,
we can sign off
yeah.
here.
Uh,
Yeah.
okay, so thanks for everyone that tuned in, and
Absolutely.
thank you for like having me here. I'm very happy, sleep deprived but happy. uh,
Well,
yeah,
I'm glad I could have you on. It's been an awesome talk.
yeah, same. Like I'm very happy to like the topics we explore. Like you bringing up Nest on a chip, amazing. Like you just like you had me pop off there because that's one of my favorite things ever in the world. I just love reverse engineering hardware, like how they did that. It's top
It's
five
amazing.
things ever. Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad I could help with that. But anyways, I think that's about it here.
Yes, I think we
Yeah.
can. I think I can go to sleep.
Perfect.
um,
Anyways, this Mr. Mario signing off, and thank you all for listening and watching, everyone. And until next month.